more than a decade, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now.
Better late than never. Good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, the start of an incredibly busy weekend. 3 Illegal Curve broadcasts in the next about 36 hours or so. You're going to get your fill of us, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Alongside Dave Minuk, alongside Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mindell, here for the next couple of hours. Jets, talk about the match, everything to do with the world of hockey as we do each and every Saturday morning. I say good morning to Dave and good morning to Ezra. Gentlemen, good to see you both. I hope you had a pleasant Friday evening off.
Yeah, Friday evening off. That's a good way of putting it with all the games. Somehow, guys, there's 5 Jets games in the next week before the Christmas break. Like, it's unbelievable how much hockey, and I love it. I mean, we always talk about, the consistency in the Jets play, but I like consistency in the schedule. I mean, there's a few too many back-to-backs. I'll be honest. There's going to be some, late nights coming up. But I love when there's a hockey game every, second night, as opposed to, earlier, right? Dave, back in November, we were having those kind of 3 days between games. But that was a huge win, boys, last game against the Predators. There's no other way to say it. I mean, obviously, it didn't really have an impact on the standings. Like, the Jets are comfortably in a playoff spot, obviously. But, we talked about it on the post-game show, right? Like, you'd lost a couple games in a row. You definitely did not like the way you played against Washington or Vegas, even though Vegas was a close game, but, that was much closer to kind of the Jets that we were seeing, throughout November and into early December, right? Controlling the pace of play, everything like that, possession, really impressive game. We saw a fight, right? We talked about that, Tanner Jeannot and Adam Lowry. So that was definitely one of the more exciting, low scoring games that you're going to see. But this is an interesting little road trip that they have coming up, boys, right? Like, you're playing Vancouver and Seattle. Vancouver's actually playing some good hockey lately, even though, I don't think anybody's really expecting a ton out of this team. Like, if the Canucks squeak into the playoffs, that's going to be, probably the best that they're going to do. I don't think anybody's expecting them to go on a run. And then when you're talking about Seattle, they've been struggling a little bit as of late.
To their fans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, their fans shouldn't expect a lot, especially with Thatcher Demko out of the lineup, right? All due respect to Spencer Martin.
The fans want them to start a rebuild, which is probably a long overdue rebuild, and it's something that we'll talk about with Kevin Woodley, and we'll touch on as we delve deeper into tonight's Jets Canucks game, because Vancouver is just one of those teams where it for a large part, it seemed like the Jets were actually in a similar spot where you're more middling. You're not bad enough that you're bottoming out.
That's exactly the word I was thinking of, Drew. That word that we've used so many times. Like, they are the definition of a middling hockey team.
Yeah, they can beat some teams, teams that are, generally not very good, and only if the Canucks play a decent level of hockey, because they can just as easily lose to those bad teams. And at the same time, they can't beat good teams because they just aren't good enough. And then there's lots to talk about with the Vancouver Canucks. And I'm sure there's people in the Vancouver market who are in depth, and we'll talk to Kevin Woodley, like I said, in hour number 2 about it, because this Canucks team is just listless. They don't seem to have a plan. They pinball from one move to another, and the moves are contradictory to one another. So if you were a fan of the Vancouver Canucks, you would say that is very curious decision making. And the Jets, if you want to look at it, the parallels there, Dave, the Jets seem to be in a very similar situation prior to their not good enough to be terrible, not bad enough that you're going to be terrible and get a high draft pick. Not really on paper, it seems to be good enough to be considered one of the better teams in your division or in your conference. Well, the Jets have managed to turn it around this year, whereas Vancouver continues to be sort of curious as to what their course of action is. But never mind that. We'll get into that in the course of the show. As Ezzy was saying, a really tight, compressed schedule from now until Christmas Eve. You got the games tonight and tomorrow night, so Saturday, Sunday. out on the West Coast. You come home for that one game on Tuesday against the Senators, where it's almost like you're parachuting in, and then you're parachuting right back out immediately, going out to the East Coast base to face the Dunes and rematch again.
Sorry, Drew. Did you stop? I can't tell. Your internet's your little Poppy's a little sloppy and it's a little choppy for you. But anyways, okay. So I think that the Jets are gonna have to keep playing what they did against Nashville. I mean, as he hit it on the head. I mean, you look at what the Jets were able to do, and they got back to playing a style of hockey that is a winning brand of hockey, right? I mean, puck possession. I mean, I have to say there were probably at least 10 instances of the Jets cycling the puck against Nashville, which even though it didn't result in a goal, it could have, right? I mean, if it wasn't for UC Saros, that game was easily out of hand. But you run into goaltenders who are up to the task, and UC Saros has won a lot of games in this league, and that's not a terrible surprise, right? As so to me,
not if you've been watching him. I mean,
no,
it wasn't too long ago, Dave, that we were talking about, right? Like UC Saros taking over for Pekka Rinne, who's arguably a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
And now, I mean, Rinne hasn't been there for a few years now, 3 years, something like that. But you're absolutely right. Like to me, Saros easily a top 5 NHL goalie.
Yeah. So I think that that can happen, and that's not an unexpected thing. Folks in Winnipeg should know that better than anyone, having watched Connor Hellebuyck do that for the Jets for years. And yet the Jets still did everything right. And that's one of those things that you want to focus on. And what's interesting to me is what is going to happen in terms of lineup and what's going to happen. Obviously, we know Nate Schmidt is on IR, which means he's out for at least a week. And that's obviously retroactive to the game against the Nashville Predators. And we know that Ville Heinola was recalled on an emergency basis from the Manitoba Moose. Now it's interesting because Ville Heinola, of course, has missed the last 4 Manitoba Moose games with illness. Now, I'm sure, the report I'm getting is that he was going to recover at some point, so he's getting better. So maybe he wasn't ready to go on Thursday night, but, I probably would have played this afternoon here in Winnipeg against the Belleville Senators. And so he obviously was up. And remember, the Jets have moved him over to that right side to get him, the Moose, have moved him over to that right side to get some reps on the right side. So if he does get the recall, he'll get the recall and be able to play right or left. And like I've talked about with Nate Schmidt years ago when he first joined the Jets, and he told me when he was coming up with Washington, you go when it's the NHL, you go where they want you to go. If they want you to play right side, you learn to play right side.
And Dave, we should mention when Samberg and Heinola played together with the Moose, Samberg was on the left and Heinola was on the right.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, and those guys have some history together, of course. And so, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And one of the things that we know, obviously, was that Kyle Capobianco wasn't 100%. Now, the interesting thing for me was the fact that he was in the Jets do that, that end of the game, post-game ritual where they're giving the jackets, and you see the coaching staff, and you see the players.
Connor last game.
Yeah, but more importantly was that Kyle Capobianco was sitting alongside Logan Stanley, was sitting in the room. So if he was that sick, if he was dealing with an illness, that it was that bad, that he was contagious, I don't suspect they would have had him around the team. I don't even think he was wearing a mask or anything like that. So to me, Kyle Capobianco, probably similar to Ville Heinola, is over whatever illness he was dealing with and could be a potential option for the Jets tonight.
And you could see them rotate over the weekend, right? Like you could see if Heinola plays tonight, maybe Capobianco plays tomorrow, right? Or vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think there's options. I think, some Jets fans I saw on Twitter are freaking out a little bit. Look, Kyle Capobianco is a veteran NHL defenseman. He's 27, 28 years old. I mean, this is a guy that's played a few games, I think 3 or 4 games for the Jets this year. I'd have to double check that. Hopefully somebody in the chat will make me look good. You have to make me look good because I certainly don't look good. But I would expect, if I'm putting money on it, I would probably, put money down on Heinola playing tonight. But I wouldn't at all be surprised, Dave, because like you said, I mean, these things are factored in, right? Like he hasn't played in a while. He's been dealing with an illness.
Yeah, December 3rd. December 3rd was his last.
Better now, but he's coming in a little bit rusty, right, guys? So it'll be interesting to see. But I honestly don't think that there's a big difference between Heinola and Capobianco going into the lineup, all things considered.
And just quickly, Drew, just let me just jump in and interject because I see the question in the chat. For those who are asking, Declan Chisholm, yes, excellent skater, but he's completely a strictly left side guy. They haven't really used him on the right side. So if you're going to pull someone up and expect them to play on the right side, even though Chisholm is waiver exempt, which is a good thing, you're probably going to go Leon Gavanke, who the 2017 fifth rounder, who's he's been pretty consistent for the Manitoba Moose the last few years, bouncing back from a kind of a poor year a couple of years ago. But
and also, I'm pretty sure, Dave, the Jets are already in BC, so I don't think there's going to be another D call up for anybody who's wondering. When Ville Heinola was called up, I mean, I think he's in BC. I think that's going to be it for now.
And I think if you want to see Declan Chisholm, then join me and about 5,000 other people at the Manitoba Moose game with the teddy bear toss. So, anyway,
are you doing color tonight or today?
No. Strictly,
he's just going to be tossing teddy bears.
Up, I'm tossing teddy bears.
Yeah, from the press.
Beecher's not giving up his seat, right, Dave?
No, I don't know who's doing that.
In addition to the change that you're going to see on the back end, you're going to see a change up front, I think, for one of these two games this weekend, because that's basically what Rick Bowness said, is that you'll see Carson Kuhlman in the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets. If not today against Vancouver, then tomorrow against Seattle. And I don't have a
which
problem.
Which is obviously where he was playing before. So I would imagine it's going to be Sunday.
I think Sunday makes a lot of sense, and you're getting some fresh legs in your lineup. Somebody who's
Carson Kuhlman revenge game, Drew.
Yeah, well, I mean, the revenge game, I don't know how high the revenge level or how high the animosity is. I wouldn't think it would be too high, but you're going to get at least some fresh legs in your lineup on the second half of a back-to-back, which I think is always, I'd like to see somebody. It's not going to be me. I don't have the time, of course. It'd be interesting to see about the impact of maybe adding a player to your roster, on the second half of a back-to-back, if the guy's fresh, if that has any sort of tangible effect. Now, usually it's not going to be anybody who's going to be a significant contributor. Generally, you're talking about a guy who's a 13th forward or a 14th forward for the most part. But I do think that just having a fresh set of legs will be beneficial and can't hurt you. Certainly when you're in that kind of situation like the Jets are with tonight at 9:00 Central Time, and then tomorrow at 7:00 Central Time. Again, it's that 22-hour turnaround between games, a real tight turnaround. Fortunately, the travel is next to nothing from Vancouver to Seattle, but nonetheless, it'll still be an interesting back-to-back situation. And I'm certain the Seattle Kraken remember what happened last time the Jets played there, because the Kraken probably thought they had a win in their pocket. And then I can't remember which player was on Seattle who went into business for himself, took that minor penalty late in the third period with less than a minute to go. And then I believe Blake Wheeler tied it up with seconds to go. And then I think it was a Morrissey who wanted an overtime. The games are all blending together.
Most likely because he scored 45 overtime goals this year. So it's most likely Morrissey.
Probably, but I'm sure that the Kraken remember how that game ended and probably have a bit of a sour taste in their mouth. And there was a little bit of edge to that game. The Jets and the Canucks haven't faced each other yet this year. So, there's going to be obviously a feeling out process to some extent. But the Jets and the Kraken, according to
TSN, Drew, the Jets have not played the Pacific Division yet.
Not sure that's accurate either there, Dave. I mean, that one bothered you, eh?
Not really. I just think I mean, honestly, like I've kind of realized, like, it's just like I think the lineup one was hilarious. The lineup mistake was brilliant, to be honest with you. And I like what you said, because I agree. Like it's so bad, it's great. And
I'm really excited to see Peter Menino in net for the Jets today, guys. That's going to be I think his debut is long overdue. Really looking forward to seeing Keaton Ellerby on the back end. Really looking forward to seeing Kyle Wellwood on that forecheck. So
you should make an all waiver wire pickup team.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, follow us on TikTok at Illegal Curve, because Dave posted that on TikTok. It's absolutely hilarious. The best part of it was that they had some of the current Jets in the lineup. So It was like a mishmash of like the current Jets and like the 2015-16 Jets. It was very weird.
I realized TikTok is just being a dick. So I was kind of like, okay, good. This is like, I get to be like mean on TikTok. It's kind of fun.
TikTok?
Yeah, exactly.
Stop it, both of you. From the Jets' perspective, obviously, you got these two games this weekend are games that you probably want. I mean, you certainly want to win every game, but when you go, your next three are against Eastern Conference opponents before you wrap up the pre-Christmas portion of the schedule. You want to make a statement, I think, again, against your Western Conference opponents, to sort of, again, reaffirm yourself towards the top of the conference as one of the teams to beat in the conference. Vancouver, for all the, as we talked about, they're just such a jumbled mess of a team, a jumbled mess of an organization. They signed JT Miller. Then they're going to trade Brock Besser. They're not going to sign Bo Horvat. You don't even know what the hell's going on.
It is a mess. You're absolutely right, Drew. It is an absolute mess. And you're right. I mean, all you have to do is read Canucks Twitter, and you can see how unhappy they are, right?
Canucks Twitter's always ready to blow, though, as
well. The Canucks army is, well, I mean, we know they're always ready for a good riot, right? So the thing is, you have this Canucks team that beat Calgary their last game. I think they're 7-3 in their last 10. Like, they've been winning hockey games even without, like, Spencer Martin. And I know Dave would know Spencer Martin was a good AHL goalie. He's been a guy who's, I think he's 27. He was a Colorado draft pick, I believe. He's kind of bounced around in the NHL and AHL. And then you've got Colin Delia, who Jets fans and Moose fans would know. He's a guy that's Rockford, right, Dave? For Colin Delia, I believe the Chicago Wolves maybe, but he's played a lot in the AHL. So Thatcher Demko, I believe, is out for another 2 to 3 weeks. And we'll talk to Kevin Woodley, but like, they're winning games with, like, just look at the goaltending numbers. Like, they're bad. Like, Spencer Martin has had a good game against the Flames, but like, this isn't a guy who's like, got a .930 save percentage. Like, it's not like they've got Shesterkin back there, right? So, or Demko for that matter, whose numbers weren't good either before his injury. But I think the point is that Canucks fans are looking at this team going like, okay, so what are we doing here? Are we going to be a playoff team, or are we going to just be competitive and then miss the playoffs? And as Drew said, that JT Miller contract, I really like JT Miller. I think he's a really good hockey player. I actually love to see him in a Jets jersey. I think he would be a great playoff warrior, but I mean, it's just too much money. And so they're stuck in between kind of a mixture of veterans and young players, right? Like Elias Pettersson, I think for me, he's a top 20 skill forward, maybe even top 10 in the entire league. And it just seems like they're kind of wasting away a little bit right now. So I think, sorry.
As he's pulling him in Dell, choking on his own words there, Dave.
Wow,
you're going to have to.
All right.
You're going to have to resuscitate Big Daddy.
Okay. I'll just take a drink of coffee here. Hold on.
Take a little splash. There we go.
Take a drink
I'm
coffee, but
I think I'm good right now. But yeah, you're right, Dave. Drew, this is a big couple of games coming up because you won a game after losing a couple at home to Vegas and Washington. You want to keep the good times rolling, right? Like, and these back-to-backs on the West Coast are not easy. Back-to-backs are never really easy. But I think these next 5 games are going to be really interesting because, as you mentioned, heading into the Christmas break, you've got a really tough back-to-back on the road against Washington and Boston. We just talked about the Capitals who you just lost to. Boston doesn't lose games. So these are definitely 2 of the games that you're looking at, in addition to the Ottawa game, I guess, that are winnable, right? Because the Canucks and Kraken aren't very good, even if the Canucks have been playing better lately. If the Jets play similar to the way they did against Nashville, they should handle the Canucks.
Well, let me ask you guys this. In terms of the goaltending situation, I mean, typically the starter gets the first game. Would you expect it to be Hellebuyck again tonight, or would you think there's a possibility they would go with Rittich tonight and then save Hellebuyck for what, in my books, is the more difficult of the 2 games, or at least against the team that's playing better hockey in Seattle as opposed to Vancouver?
But they're not actually Seattle's been on a bit of a slide lately, but I guess standings-wise, I'll give you that much, Drew. Yeah, standings wise, you're right. The Kraken and overall, I mean, I'm not cutting you down or anything like that. The Kraken are definitely a more
coming
skilled
down all
team.
you want. I'm okay.
But yeah, I would probably expect Hellebuyck to get the start tonight in Vancouver, and then you go Rittich against Seattle, and then Rittich's going to get one of those games most likely against Washington or Boston. Like, I don't see Rick Bowness and the coaching staff, Dave, running Hellebuyck, 4 of these 5 games. I would expect Rittich to get 2 of these games.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, we know Rittich's going to get at least 1 this weekend. I'm kind of with Ezzy. I think you go Connor Hellebuyck based on, he played a pretty solid game against Nashville. And remember, the Jets aren't practicing, right? They're not really practicing at all. So, I mean,
they're all sick.
Yeah, exactly. But the truth is that he's not really like being overtaxed. I mean, is it a real difficulty to not hit the ice on Friday, just instead to travel directly to Vancouver? So, for me, you could run Connor Hellebuyck, and it's not going to be, I don't think, exhausting for him. But we know the way the Jets run; they have a plan. So you'll see Connor Hellebuyck. My guess would be at least, well, I mean, we know at least 3 of these games. I would actually think probably, I mean, looking at the spacing, yeah, I mean, most likely he plays today. He plays against Ottawa on Tuesday, and then you face him off against either Boston or Washington. That one's a toss up because both are going to be tough games. But most likely maybe you give him Boston because that way he can, he's not playing in the second game of the back-to-back. I mean, those are the ones you generally throw to your backup netminder. So yeah, and as he's right, look, Vancouver hasn't. Well, they're not a great team. They've got the same record as the Jets. And our friends at Betway have the odds, as I put in the pregame report. It's a toss.
Same record as the Jets in the last 10.
That's what I'm saying. Well, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Good clarity.
I was confused there.
Very, very, very careful. We
Yes,
don't want to portray the Canucks as a top team in the West.
No, but they are 7-3-0 in their last 10 games, similar to the exact same record as Winnipeg. So you want the Jets to go in there, and you want the Jets to see what they can do, because you're right, Ezzy. You can't afford to play a really good game against Nashville and then take your foot off the brake because, it's Vancouver. Now, to the Jets' credit, they have not done that this season. To the Jets' credit, they have played a pretty consistent game, and they haven't, stepped off the gas to, we're playing Arizona, then we don't need to play tight. We're playing, insert, Chicago, we don't have to play tight. It's not just when we're playing against Dallas or someone else that the Jets have that mentality of trying to be consistent. Now, look, does their game look exactly the same each and every game? No, of course not. But you want to be able to see that against a Vancouver team, like I said, that's well below you in the standings, even though they're playing better. You want to see how the Jets are going to be able to do that. And so, to me, you fire off your best lineup tonight because you want to start off the road trip with a good feeling. And so that's why you'd start with Connor Hellebuyck, I would think.
Right, it's interesting. You look at Vancouver. This is a team that's a good power play team. I believe they're 7th in the league in power play percentage. So you got a sort of a strength on a strength there. In that the Jets penalty kills, of course, top 5 compared to in the league, 5th overall in the league. Whereas the Canucks penalty killing, that's really where they're struggling. So if you can get them into some penalty trouble, their penalty killing percentage is 30th. Exactly, Bailey. Thank you for putting it up on the screen there.
Bailey, by the way, Drew, did Bailey the intern, did she supply you with that information? She is the intern, of course.
She didn't,
because she had that up before your thought was even out of your head.
More importantly, if Bailey Weeb is officially the IC intern, we have to supply her with some merch. She's got to get a shirt.
She's technically the unofficial intern. She's right. She's a self-declared.
No, she's intern. Official. She's
really?
The official intern. Yeah.
Well, thankfully, much like this show, Ezzy has very little power.
Bailey, you're the official intern.
Okay, Bailey, Dave, and I will discuss that, and then we'll make a decision on that front. Ezzy does not speak for or represent Illegal Curve Hockey.
Bailey speaks LLC. For the next generation of IC fans. She's by far the youngest person that watches, to my knowledge.
And she is our help. She is the help on TikTok. She gives us good feedback on our TikTok.
Yeah, because we have no idea what we're doing. Even though Dave M has been doing a good job getting our TikTok going. It's starting off slow, but he's got it going. He's posted some nice videos. He's thrown some music in there. We're talking. We're ticking.
Yeah,
we're a little marshmallow on there.
We're only about 5 years behind the trend. That's like ahead of the curve for us. Pardon the pun. Only to be 5 years behind the trend.
And Drew, I just learned how to use Microsoft Word. I'm really pumped up. Excel's next for me.
There you go. What was I'm trying to remember now that you say Microsoft Word. What was the other program that used to exist and then WordPerfect. Thank you, Dave. There you go.
CorelDRAW.
Well, remember the old Corel Center in Ottawa? That's what the arena used to be called, the Corel Center.
Yeah. I just love playing Commander Keen on floppy disk. It's one of my favorite games.
That's very good. That's good. But my point was, before we obviously digress, because that's what we do best here, is that this is a special teams matchup that is going to be key, I think, in tonight's game. The Jets power play, of course, it hasn't been as effective as it was, say, on that road trip last week.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. You still don't, they've had a ton of possession, haven't really been able to score. But the power play is 16th in the league entering tonight. Whereas you look at the Canucks PK and it's just horrendous. So the Jets have to look at that as an area of opportunity. The Jets have to set that this is a game, and to your point, Dave, they've done this well this year. This is a game that we need to have because we're a better team than our opponent. And in years past, they would lose those games. Whereas this year, they've done a pretty admirable job of stepping up and ensuring those games are ones that go into the win ledger at the end of the 60 minutes. When we were, Scott Billick of the Winnipeg Sun and Post Media joins us for more Jets talk. It's Saturday morning. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We're live on YouTube. We're live on all of our social media platforms. The bottom of the hour means we welcome our good friend Scott Billick from Post Media and the Winnipeg Sun.
It's an early Hanukkah present.
It is an early Hanukkah present. Any time we can spend with Scotty B, it means it's an early Hanukkah gift. Scott, good morning, buddy. How are you, good sir?
Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. We're gonna light the candles pretty soon, Scotty.
Yeah, there you go. Happy Hanukkah.
Right. Jelly donuts and your latkes
You
ready?
too as well. Happy holidays.
Yes.
Obviously, Scotty
there.
brought you on to talk a little bit about the Winnipeg Jets.
So about that awkward pause that we just experienced, guys.
Oh boy.
Three-game homestand. A three-game homestand comes to an end. They're on the road for 4 of the next 5 before we wrap up the pre-Christmas part of the schedule. I mean, just a really busy week ahead of us and ahead of for the Winnipeg Jets. Looking back at the homestand, what did we learn? Did we learn any new with this team? The way that Vegas and Washington sort of, I mean, I don't want to use the word exposed, but maybe defeated the Jets. And then the way they bounced back against Nashville on Thursday night with one of their best efforts, I would say, top to bottom. I know the game went to overtime, but they were in control of that game, possession wise and by all sort of the expected metrics, expected goals, all that jazz. What have we learned, team? Anything new from this 3-game homestand, or they sort of are what we are, entering it?
Yeah. I mean, that's almost a good way to put it, I think. I mean, the Vegas game wasn't horrible, right? I mean, it could have been, I guess, played better, but I mean, the Jets put up 5 goals against Vegas too, so it's kind of one of those games where, like, Rick Bowness seemed to be all right with that game. It was the Washington game that he wasn't happy with. I mean, he seemed to be fine with the back and forth style of that Vegas game. It was it was contested in a way that I think there was a few things he wanted tightened up. I think there's a couple of goals Connor Hellebuck would have wanted back, but it's sort of what you expect, the fireworks you expect from two teams as skilled as the Jets and Vegas are. I mean, Vegas was also they're extremely hurt right now. They're missing a lot of their top end guys, so it's kind of hard to gauge that. But that was the best game that the Jets had played Vegas this season too. Closing out their season series with them. The Washington game was the tough one because that one seemed like, Washington was on a bit of an upswing there. Obviously, I think they had come into the game winners of 4 straight. But that's one of those games where you would want to see the Jets kind of elevate, I suppose. And then the Nashville game to me was it was the Jets kind of getting back to at least tightening up their game. I mean, I understand it was a 2-1 hockey game in the end, but the Jets put up 41 shots, and so, like, if you're looking at the response, I think Rick Bowness saw it in the Vegas game, but they didn't win. And then I think he saw it more in the Nashville game, sure, in terms of like tightening up the play of the game. And I think that's that's what you wanted to see from the Jets as a whole, because the thing that this Jets team needed to be able to do is be comfortable in those tight scoring games, regardless of who they play. Like, if they would have given up a goal late against the Predators, you would have been like, okay, well, this is just, we've seen this before, right? The Jets play a good game, but check into the Heartbreak Hotel kind of later on in the game, and they lose it somehow, find a way to lose. There wasn't a lot of chances for Nashville in that game, and so and Connor Hellebuck made a really good save in the third period to keep that game 1-1. But I mean, they made UC Saros make a lot of good saves, right? So yeah, it's one of those things where that game probably could have been more out of hand than more lopsided on the scoreboard, I should say, than it showed. But the Jets didn't fold in that game. They didn't get frustrated. I know Kyle Connor was asked about this after the game, just not, or maybe it was Adam Lowry, but just not getting frustrated in those moments where you're putting up 41 shots and only getting 1 goal. That can be frustrating to a team that is in the midst of a bit of a skid as they were. But credit to this team. They haven't lost 3 straight this year. They have a 19-9-1 record. They're first in the Central in terms of points percentage, second in the West in that regard. it's hard to knock this team, but you know that there is some things that they can improve too. But what you want to see is, you don't want some of these mistakes, especially in the Washington game where there was a lot of, odd man rushes and stuff like that against. Like, those are the things that, okay, you can have one bad game. Every team's going to have tough games. You've seen it, other than Boston. You've seen some of the other teams that have been able to kind of, they have a bad, run of luck. Maybe just have an off night. It happens. But you want to see your team, if you're a fan of this hockey team here, or if you're the players, you're the head coach of this team, you want to see some improvement. And I think, give credit to the Jets. They have a winning, they have a really good record at home. They've been good on the road, and they haven't lost 3 straight this season. And I remember we used to talk about like this team like winning 3 straight, and like they needed to get to winning 3 straight in a row, right? Well, the Jets have done that with relative ease this season. And so it's kind of one of those things where yeah, they're doing good. I mean, we can nitpick and sit here and nitpick, but it's been hard to see. Like, we can look at some of the analytical trends, and maybe those are kind of wonky at times. But I still think this team has been good. I mean, what else can I say about them? And as I said, yeah, there's just things to work on, but they've been a good team, and they've been able to deal with their adversity, I suppose, with injuries. I mean, they've had injuries, obviously, still going through that right now. But they've been able to deal with that and kind of roll with the punches this year. And I think that's, probably one of the hallmarks of their success so far is, the lows haven't really gotten that low. And so you're kind of, if you're a pessimist, I suppose, you're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. Like, when is this team going to finally, kind of crack, let's say. But, it seems like this team is really tight this year, something that we've seen by being able to go in the room for the first time since before COVID. So yeah, it's been good. I think I think it's been good. So
I think at a certain point, right, Scotty, you have to say, like, tonight is game 30. Like, we're not 10 or 12 games into the season. We're
exactly.
a third of the way into the season. You have to just say the Jets are, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Drew was getting some flack, but you really do have to call them elite. I mean, if top 10 is elite, I don't know if the Jets are top 5 in the NHL, guys. And Scotty mentioned the Olympics. The Olympics, the analytics.
Did I?
We're not talking about the Olympics yet, even though we got the World Cup final still coming up. Go Argentina, yeah. But I think you have to expect the Jets will lose probably 3 games at one point in the season. Maybe they won't, but I don't think the Jets are going to lose 5 or 6 games in a row season like they did last year. So whether you think, they're good or very good or excellent, whatever, adjective you want to use. I mean, right now, as you mentioned, first in the Central, right up there. I think they're first in the Central, right? Or is Dallas ahead of them? I forget.
No, they're second in the Central, yeah.
Second in the Central. But the point is, they're near the top of the Western Conference standings, and we're at game 30 of the season. So are we saying that the Jets are a Stanley Cup favorite? No, that's not what anybody's saying. But to your point, you lose to Washington, you lose to Vegas, but then you bounce back with a very convincing game. And I agree, the Jets could have scored 4 or 5 goals in the game if they weren't facing, UC Saros making some crazy saves. You mentioned Kyle Connor and Adam Lowry, Scotty, and I wanted to ask you, I mean, obviously Lowry picked up the big assist in overtime on Connor's goal on his 75th shot on UC Saros. I mean, just how much better are the Jets when Adam Lowry is contributing offensively like he is? Because we know he's a good faceoff guy, good penalty killer, but he's on pace for a career season. And I thought, the game against Nashville was arguably one of the best games we've ever seen when you factor in the fight against Tanner Jeannot and everything like that. But just how much better are the Jets, and how much farther can they go when Lowry's putting up 40 to 45 points as opposed to 25 to 30 points?
I mean, I think Adam Lowry just keeps kind of sneakily, I guess, getting kind of better with every season. It's weird, every season you hear this thing. Well, want to see Adam Lowry on the 4th line, right? I mean, they don't want, he should be the 4th line center, not the 3rd line center. And every year he starts on the 3rd line, and now he starts to produce, and he starts to, and And let's face it. I mean, Adam Lowry was kind of, and he always really kind of has been this kind of gatekeeper to the top 6. You play with Adam Lowry, and then you'll move up or you won't. I mean, Adam Lowry doesn't ever get to move up. I mean, very rarely, will you see
He's a
Adam
gateway
Lowry.
player.
He is.
Marijuana is a gateway drug. He's a gateway player.
That's it.
I mean, I've heard from other people. I wouldn't know. I've never inhaled. So
yeah, I don't know where this. Yeah, I don't know. Just in the brownies.
Right?
Right?
When you only do edibles, you don't have to inhale. It's fine.
I was gonna say.
I teed you guys up for that one.
There you go. Yeah. But no, like I think Adam Lowry has been just a very solid, sturdy, steady, consistent player for the Jets. And I think a lot of people want to see him as the captain, right? I mean, here's a guy who there's not a day where I've ever seen Adam Lowry kind of take off. You watch this guy, just like you're in the room and you kind of watch this guy, just kind of how he interacts with everybody. He's almost like he's perfect captain material in my mind. Like he's the guy that you would want, because he reaches like both sides of the aisle, right? If you want to use a political term. He's really good with the old players. Obviously, he's not old himself, but he's been around this core long enough that he's established himself in there. But he's really good with the younger players as well. So just on that alone, I mean, that he's really adaptable to different types of things. And we talked about Mark Scheifele being the student of the game and all that, and he is. Adam Lowry doesn't get enough credit just for his hockey IQ, his smarts, all that kind of stuff, how much he pays attention to the game. Anytime you can ask Adam Lowry about anything that's going on in this league, and he'll give you like an insightful, detailed answer about like what's going on with like the Florida Panthers or the San Jose Sharks, right? Like it's not just I know what's going on with the Central Division teams. He's good with everything. Which, I mean, that lends to more than just, this is what he's good at, or that he has hockey smarts. I mean, this guy watches a lot of games. He knows the teams that are coming in. He knows what the tendencies are of a lot of players and that sort of thing. So he's really good at that. And, on the ice, I mean, again, Adam Lowry very rarely takes a game off. I mean, he reminds me of Blake Wheeler, kind of a Blake Wheeler light in that sense. Obviously not as skilled as Blake Wheeler has been throughout his career. But I like the fact that as a third line guy, he's putting up, trying to get up to like, 40, 50 points a year and still do what he does, killing penalties, the top penalty killer on this team. There's no, this team was always good on the penalty kill with Adam Lowry being one of the anchors on that PK. And that's what he's good at again. But he does, yeah. I mean, this guy has so many different line mates all the time. And I think that goes kind of unnoticed sometimes, that, you expect this guy to produce because he's your third line center. But he plays with so many guys, like it's difficult, right? I mean, remember Josh Morrissey getting cycled with different defensemen after Dustin Byfuglien left, and they lost the right side of their defense after that season. It was difficult for Josh Morrissey to kind of push through that and establish himself, because it's just hard to play with a different D guy every game, or every couple of games you're kind of switching up, trying to get it ready. I think this is one of the things that he does really well. Adam Lowry does really well, is his ability to be malleable with the guys that he's put on his line with. And so you see the Mason Appletons that play with him move up to the first line, or the Michael Eyssimont. Michael Eyssimont. I'm gonna have to get this right. He changed his first name, or how he wants it said.
And his last name as well, Scott. He wants his last name to be Eyssimont, actually.
Eyssimont. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll probably say that now. Like somewhere.
I was obviously joking. Scott knows.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
I know.
I hope everybody knows I'm joking about that.
Yeah.
It was Mikey. Now it's Michael.
Yeah, but like this is what I think, right? Like, I mean, this is what he's really good at is playing with anything that he's given. And yeah, I mean, look at the fight, right? I mean, kind of leading on by example. Hilarious kind of to watch that. I don't know if he caught it on. If anybody was able to, you saw it on TV or not, but he kind of whispers to Morgan Barron to go take the draw. Morgan Barron's not a center, doesn't take a lot of faceoffs in the NHL. But as soon as you see Morgan Barron going and taking the faceoff, you know exactly what's going to happen there.
Go time.
It's go time, yeah. And, say what you want about fighting in the league. I know you were there.
I think it's
Dave.
very barbaric, Scotty.
Yeah, but I know Dave was there, and that game went from booing the hit to absolute elation that these two were fighting. That Adam Lowry was going to take on Tanner Jeannot there, and then the standing ovation after it was done. I mean, the fans respect what Adam Lowry does. He's one of the few guys on this team that will drop the gloves when he needs to. But Adam Lowry isn't a goon either. That was his first fight of the season, right? Like, Adam Lowry picks his spots, and he picks them well in my mind. I mean, the one year where he fought Ryan Reeves in Vegas there, trying to get the team, and part of that fight, I mean, not that, the Jets needed much more motivation after the Nate Schmidt hit, but I mean, that fight kind of got the Jets, that woke the Jets up in that game, right? And so, I got a lot of respect and a lot of time for Adam Lowry. I mean, he has a lot of time for us in the media. He's got a lot of time for different initiatives around Winnipeg and Manitoba. Like, he's perfect captain material in my mind. I know some people disagree with that, but yeah, it's hard to deny kind of what he brings to the team, what you see in the room all the time, and those types of things. So, I mean, he again sneakily keeps kind of getting better, finding more ways to kind of produce. I think those things are important, and I think this is a guy that he just doesn't always get as much credit, or at least the credit that he's deserved.
Saturday morning, Scott Billick of the Winnipeg Sun and Post Media is our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. In about 12 hours time from right now, it'll be the Illegal Curve post-game show. No, it won't. That'll be tomorrow. In 36 hours time, it'll be the Illegal Curve post-game show. Tonight's Illegal Curve post-game show won't be for another 14 hours. I'm getting all confused, but you guys know what I'm trying to say is that
you have plenty of time to get your nap in, Drew. You've got like, I was going to say,
my brain medicine too while we're at it. A lot of Illegal Curve coming your way this weekend.
Scotty, got to ask you about the D and what's going to happen, what you think is going to happen there. Of course, we didn't have a practice yesterday, so didn't get a chance to see what the situation is going to be like. We know Kyle Capobianco didn't skate and weren't sure the other day whether he was well. In the post-game video, I was talking about it earlier on the show. He was in the room, so if he was sick, I would imagine they wouldn't want him around the team. He was in the room and with the players. So I'd imagine much like Ville Heinola, who is dealing with an illness and hadn't played the last 4 Moose games, but suddenly got the emergency recall. I'd imagine, both those guys are available and ready to play. Otherwise, they obviously wouldn't have recalled Heinola. But, one of the things we saw with the Moose, and I would imagine had Heinola not been ill, would have seen more of, was him on the right side. And, the 2 games when Milwaukee was in town here in Winnipeg at the start of December 1st and 3rd, Heinola was on that right side. And like I said, had he stayed healthy, then they probably would have played him on the right side for the last 4 games, really showing that, hey, we're going to make a move here. We're going to get Heinola those reps. And I know he played right side in Finland, but it's, I talked to Eric Dubois about it. It's a different situation playing right side. You have more time when you're playing in Finland. Ville Heinola and I talked about it after the game. I think it was December 3rd, because it's just a different game. You have a different rink and you have more time. So having to flip over to your right side isn't as difficult a challenge because of that sort of luxury of time you have in Europe that you don't have here in North America. But if you're the Jets coaching staff with Nate Schmidt, we know that Nate Schmidt's out at least a week, and you have a bit of a quote runway to run with Ville Heinola, get him some games similar to what we've seen with other kind of young players. And Michael isn't a young player, but the one thing we've talked about sometimes is opportunity. And this is an opportunity to give Ville Heinola sort of a stress-free opportunity with the Winnipeg Jets, where he knows he can play 5 games in a row. Nate Schmidt isn't going to come back and steal his spot, and he can kind of play hockey carefree. What are your kind of thoughts as to the way the Jets are going to play this the next week or so?
Well, I mean, I hope if they're going to, I hope if Ville Heinola is going to come up, he's going to play. I think that's maybe the number one thing here. Like, you need to bring this guy up and play him. And this is what this. So it's going to be a good test for Rick Bonus's word here. I think even calling Ville Heinola up right now is kind of, Rick Bonus being true to what he said. This is an opportunity, assuming he plays, not only for Ville Heinola to show what he has, but for the Jets to kind of see and put him in the spots that they didn't bring him up and keep him with the team to start the year. The reason why they didn't keep him with the team right off the bat was because the team had enough power play specialists, as I believe Rick Bowness called it, power play guys, right? They had Josh Morrissey playing on the top power play, Neil Pionk and Nate Schmidt on the second unit. And so there wasn't room. I mean, if Ville Heinola is not going to kill penalties in the NHL, that's why they wanted Sandberg and Stanley to be with the team and Kyle Capobianco to be that kind of seventh guy or whatever, or the eighth guy at the time. Now is your chance. Now is your chance to put him on the second power play. Now is your chance to play him on the right side in the NHL. Now is your chance to see what you have in him. I mean, in my mind, this is a pivotal year for the Jets in terms of, do you have to go for it or do you not have to go for it this year? And if you look at the contracts that are coming up in 2 years, there's going to be some decisions that need to be made this summer. What's going on? So, this is the time to figure out, is Ville Heinola going to be a team, a player on this team in the future too? Or is this a guy that you can trade and turn into, a big rental kind of player for a push, in the playoffs this year? If you are going to go all in, if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff and you think this team is your best shot at winning a Stanley Cup, depending how the rest of the season plays out and all of that. So yeah, in my mind, this is an opportunity for both Ville Heinola to show what he has, for the Jets to see what he has, and then to make a decision of whether or not you're going to roll with this guy, or if this is something where teams are going to want big prospects out of this Jets team. If they're looking to make, they're not looking for Christian Vesalainen. Let's just say that. They're going to want the Lambert.
Neither was Malmo.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm. So they're going to be looking for the big prospects on this team, the Lamberts, the Heinolas and players of that ilk, and so to me, this is a test. Are the Jets going to give Ville Heinola the chance that he needs to kind of show what he can do in all facets of Ville Heinola's game? And I think, the power play should be included in that. I think they need to see if this guy can do that. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for. I think it'd be a mistake to put Kyle Capobianco into the lineup. I know he's been sitting out and Rick Bowness likes to see him play. I wouldn't be surprised if Capobianco doesn't get one game this weekend because of the schedule and because of the fact that Ville had missed a few games there, as Dave pointed out there earlier. But I think they need to see him. I agree with you, Dave. I think they need to see what he can do, give him that runway, give him the platform, and let him play without knowing that he's going to come out when, last time it was Dylan DeMello. I mean, so I think last he played was, November 23rd for the Jets. I think he played 2 straight there on that road trip. And so, that's the one thing where you want to see. You want to give this kid a shot where he knows he's not coming out of the lineup for a little bit, unless he completely bombs, and let him showcase what he can do. I think there's some skill there. I think everybody, and I'm kind of reading the chat as we go here, and not everybody agrees on the Ville Heinola project or whatever you want to call it, that this kid's, good enough to play in the NHL. I think at times he's shown that he is good enough to compete in the NHL. Yeah, maybe he needs to get a little bit bigger or whatever it is. But, if he's good on the power play and he can be a good player on that second power play and produce on that power play, I think you can live with some of the growing pains that were going to be there with his defensive play. But again, I know his agents called for it. I know he has called for it. Give him some time. Let him prove that this is where he needs to be. Because there's no more excuses for Ville not playing well either, right? I mean, I don't think this is just a one-sided thing where the Jets haven't given him enough. Like, if they give him the runway, to do it, to play, that's the test for Ville. Can he handle the moment? Can he handle what the Jets give him? Like I think this is a good opportunity, like I said, for player and team to figure out where they really are, where they stand in this league. And so that's what I'm hopeful of seeing, because I want to see it too. Like, just like the fans want to see it. I mean, I want to see it in my job too. I want to see if he can do it, because he's clamored for it. Some of the fans at least have clamored for it. And I think, the team needs to see what they have in him. It's pivotal for them to know what they have in this guy before they make a decision of whether or not they're going to trade a former first rounder. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I think, I would hope that they give him that opportunity, because I think it's just beneficial to the club one way or the other. And I think they need to know that before you just kind of, give up on him, quote unquote. See what you actually have in him on this team, which is doing well, where you're not putting him in a compromised position. I would say, I think now is the best time to actually, find out what you have in him.
Scott Bill covers the Winnipeg Jets for the Winnipeg Sun and Post Media. He's a big friend of the show. It's always a pleasure to catch up with him. Scotty, all the best to you and yours this holiday season. If we don't chat before Christmas and everything rolls around, thanks so much for doing this.
Let us know if you want some potato latkes, Scotty. We can hook you up. I can make a delivery.
I will take all your food. Yeah,
I'll bring them all your food, Scott. Interesting.
No, it's Ezzy's. Oh, geez. Oh my goodness. Can't even say,
for everybody for everybody's worrying, I do like to give Scott a hard time, and Scotty and I banter quite often in the press box. So don't worry, Scott. To make amends, I will bring you some latkes for Tuesday's game.
Have you seen this? Did you see this kind of menorah that's going around that looks like a cat? You did see that?
No,
I was going to bring that up on the show.
My wife showed it to me, and jokingly she said that we should. I think she showed it to me before it sort of went viral, and then she showed it to me again after it went viral. I think it's for sale at Target.
Okay. I don't even have any idea what you're talking about.
So it's a menorah, and when you position it in one way, it looks like it's like a lion menorah. It's like a lion shaped menorah, and it looks perfectly normal. But then when you position it another way, it looks very much like something you could use for sexual pleasure.
I don't know where we're going on this show, but
don't corrupt my holidays.
Drew, what are you talking about right now?
Don't look for it.
You're good. You're good.
Ezzy's actually seen this thing. Like Ezzy has one on order. I don't know what he's talking about.
No. I'm more of a mensch on a bench type of guy, Scotty.
Scott, Ezzy doesn't have it on order. His wife has it on order. Ezzy knows nothing about it.
Hey. And he never will.
I agree with Jay Miller.
That's the wife of my children, Drew.
The show is taking a bit of a turn right now, boys.
Sorry, the mother of my children.
Oh my goodness.
Check it out you can check it out on Twitter. It's become a meme. I'm shocked you guys haven't seen it, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, Scotty.
It's also probably available at Thongs, Dongs, and Bongs.
Okay. Scotty.
I don't know.
Thank you, buddy.
Scotty, just exit the chat right now. Exit the room.
What was that again? Let me Google it. Something dongs and bongs or whatever.
Yeah, we need to see Scott's reaction. We could turn this into a TikTok.
There, now Dave has seen it. What is it? It does. It's very phallic-like.
Maybe, but the end might be a little bit painful for someone. So,
anyway,
guys, we have children in the chat. Come on, we got minors in this chat. Let's keep this kosher. Come on, let's get back to
chat.
I don't know how we went from nice Hanukkah talk to this sort of thing, Drew. You and your wife can keep your stuff off the air, please.
It wasn't me. It was Scotty started it.
Why? You're blaming the guests now?
I'm for the record, I'm coming back.
I've seen a side of Drew that I don't like. I don't feel like I'm in a safe space right now.
I agree with you. I want my holiday back. I'm going to be lighting the candles tomorrow night. I'm going to feel totally corrupted because of Scott and Drew.
Right. Yeah.
Well, then my work here is done. Is basically what
I've ruined Hanukkah.
Scotty, we apologize. Sorry for ruining your Saturday morning.
All right, let's go to commercial break. This segment is over.
Bye,
Scott.
Thanks, Scotty.
More Jets talk when we come back.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hi, Ez. A strange question for you. But why are you lying on the ground being crushed by a piano?
Well, Drew, I definitely tried to carry this baby grand piano down the stairs by myself, and somehow I failed miserably.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a silly question on my part. My apologies. Would you like me to call Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage to help you move the piano? They are the most experienced piano moving company in Winnipeg, after all.
Yes, please call Rollies and hurry. This piano is very, very heavy.
Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage offers stress-free residential moving services while taking great care of your personal belongings, including your piano. At Rolly's, no job is too big or too small. For more information, visit rollys.com.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whitened my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go,
"We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?"
"I sure do."
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs, from restorative to cosmetic dentistry, and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly. See lindenmarketdental.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Back hour number 2. That really went off the rails and in a hurry. My apologies to anybody who may not have been expecting the show to veer into NC-17 territory very quickly.
Well, Drew, that was all you that took it in that direction. I mean, we were just riding the wave.
It was Scott who brought it up, and I just happened to be up to date on all the menorah-related pop culture references, and I knew exactly what he was talking about.
I just took a look at the picture, by the way, Drew, and you are right. I mean, it does look like, I'm not going to say it, what you said it looked like.
Exactly.
Because we do have Bailey and other people that are, let's keep this a family program.
All right, let's start talking about the Winnipeg Jets again. Kevin Woodley going to join us in about 10 minutes time. Let me ask you guys this. So Carson Kuhlman, we expect him to be in the lineup, as we mentioned, probably tomorrow. Who do you think he replaces? Who, the bottom of the Jets lineup has been sort of playing so well by and large.
and Fialbi, maybe. That would probably be
the name that
best guess.
jumped out to me the most.
Sam Gagne was really good, and he was elevated in the lineup for Mikey Esimont.
Yeah.
Esimont, you guys got to wonder. I don't know, Dave, if we got any update because the Jets didn't skate yesterday, right? Like, I don't know if we got an update, but Esimont clearly was not feeling well, right? So maybe Carson Kuhlman plays both of these games, guys. And to be honest with you, I mean, Kuhlman is more than just a spare part. You go back to the year that the Jets and the Golden Knights played in the West Final. It was Boston who played Vegas it wasn't Boston, it was Washington. I misspoke. That year that Boston, 2018 or 2019, if you go on Carson Kuhlman's Hockey DB, I think he played 8 or 9 playoff games that year. So the Bruins went, I think, to the second round that year, maybe the third round. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Washington, Boston that year, Drew, in the East Final? It could have been Boston in the East Final. But the point is, Carson Kuhlman, Bruce Cassidy, which is kind of funny. Bruce Cassidy's now with Vegas, but he was playing Carson Kuhlman. If you remember, on the third line, it was Jake DeBrusk, Carson Kuhlman. I forget who else was on that line. But, I mean, he's a good player. And the thing I think you'll notice with Carson Kuhlman is his work ethic, energy. He's a guy that's not overly physical, but he's a guy that will get in on the forecheck and, give guys a bump. So, I mean, Kuhlman's a guy that I'm really interested to see, what he can do for the Jets, because nobody's expecting him to score a bunch of goals. If he scores a goal, that's bonus. But he's a really reliable defensive forward, in addition to being a good human being. I think we're biased because anybody who listened to us in 1290, we had him on a couple times, undrafted, and he got invited to Jets development camp, signed with Boston, won the championship, 2 championships with the Bulldogs. Dave, I forget, 1 or 2 if he won a championship. So it's great for him to join, guys like Dylan Sandberg and Neil Pionk, other guys that went to Minnesota Duluth. So I think it was a really good pickup. Chevy is owning the waiver wire this year, boys. Like he is doing some good work. I know a lot of Jets fans want Chevy to make a move. But look at Janssen Fjällby and Carson Kuhlman were acquired for nothing. And I expect Chevy to be active prior to the deadline, but we have a few months before that's going to happen.
We do have a few months. I mean, to me, Kevin Stenlund, I was hoping I would be able to ask Scott about it. We ran out of time, obviously, getting waylaid the way we did. But, Dave, you've watched Kevin Stenlund a lot. I've been impressed with him. And I know the running joke or the running commentary that, the appearance similarities between him and Blake Wheeler, given, 28 and 26, and how they're both big bodied forwards and how, they just look very similar on the ice. But I think he's stepped in and he's certainly played effectively for the Jets in the role that he's been asked to deploy in.
I mean, I don't think there's any question he can play on the penalty kill, and one of the things that you got to give Kevin Stenlund credit for, and I talked to him about it when he was with the Moose, is he knew that the Jets were always watching, and he always knew that if his opportunity came, he was going to try and seize it. And you're 100% right. Like, honestly, I can't even tell you how many times I think there was a penalty in the Nashville game, and I was like, oh, he took out Wheeler. Oh no, wait, he took out Stenlund. Like, It's amazing how similar, and you're right, the numbers, the composition, there are a lot of similarities there. But, the one thing for me, if you look at this Winnipeg Jets club, is has anybody done enough to not come out? I mean, it's not as if these guys, they're playing well, but it's not as if they're producing a ton of goals right now. And, it's one of the things that Rick Bowness talked about is that you need contributions up and down the lineup, and you need guys to, get like the third line now we're seeing contribute, and that's good. That's what you needed from a third line. We've talked about that on this show for years, that you can't have a third line playing like a fourth line and just be a shutdown line. It's impressive that they can shut down some of the opponents that they do, but they still need to be able to, and obviously contribute the way they do on the penalty kill. But, to me, the fourth line is kind of a mishmash, but the reality also is the fact that, is there anybody who, like, look at the goals, right? Sam Gagner has 4. Sacramento Line had 4. Mason Appleton obviously is injured, but Michael Esimont, 1. Jansen Harkins, 2. So, like, I don't know that you're necessarily, I'm going through David Gustafson, 0. You know what David Gustafson can do. Axel Janssen Fjällby, 1.
I prefer 0, not 0.
Fine. Kevin Stenlund, he has 0, but 0, but he has obviously only played the 2 games. So for me, it's not as if there's. So what I think it is an opportunity to keep your lineup fresh. I actually think it's a good idea to rotate guys in and out and keep guys fresh and bring in fresh legs. Don't be afraid to say, we've got these guys. It's fairly interchangeable, I guess, is ultimately the point I'm trying to make. And so to me, if you can get a guy who's going to be the same as the guy you're replacing him with, but he's going to have fresher legs, then that's what you do. That's why you have, extra forwards on the lineup, is this sort of instance where you could say, okay, we're going to pull a Axel Janssen Fjällby, or we're going to pull a Sam Gagner, who's been effective for us, but maybe, back-to-backs aren't necessarily going to be a benefit to him. So we'll pull him for the back-to-back. We'll take him out for Seattle. We'll throw a guy who's got fresher legs in there, and then you keep the lineup fresh, and you have a little bit of energy from a guy who's ready to go. And that's how you keep guys hungry. And that, to me, is probably going to be a hallmark of the fourth line, is that it is an interchangeable group. And like I said, they're not, other than the game where Rick Bowness was displeased with them. I think it was that was the Washington game.
Yeah.
Other than that, they haven't been really a negative group, which obviously is a huge positive, for the fourth line. But you need them to contribute. And I just think that until you have a guy who's scoring, once every third or let's say fourth game, you can afford to mix and match and get those fresh legs in the lineup. So that's just the way I would look at it. And that's a way to get a guy like Carson Kuhlman into the lineup and get his, energy level and see what he's going to bring to this Jets club.
And by the way, guys, I'm pretty sure Axel Janssen Fjällby didn't play last game against Nashville. I misspoke. I thought Janssen, am I mistaken? I'm pretty sure he didn't play. I might be wrong about that. But Carson Kuhlman's, Dave's given me the shaking his head, so I think I'm right there. So,
then who comes out?
Carson Kuhlman's a right winger. So, I mean, there's only a few options here. Like, we can go up and down the line. I don't see Jansen Harkins coming out of the lineup. So it's probably going to be Sam Gagner. I mean, it's or Esimont, right? Because Esimont was playing on the line with Dubois, right? Dubois' line. So Gagner was elevated because Esimont, we think, I'm not sure if it was confirmed, was dealing with something and he needed, a little rest. Let's be honest. Like these guys, the flu bug is going around the team, or some virus is going around the team, right? Because it was Harkins and Barron, Dave, that I believe missed morning skate on Thursday, right? Am I wrong about that? I'm pretty sure. Thumbs up. Give me the thumbs up. There we go, because you're muted. So, I mean, something viral is going through this team. It's going through the city, by the way, and I think the entire country right now. A lot of people are getting.
Let's hope it's not that menorah, Ezzy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Please, I don't ever want to talk about that. I feel like that was one of the most cringeworthy segments we've ever had on IC. But funny.
I thought it was one of our better segments myself.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would expect it to be Gagner. And just going back to Rick Bowness saying that he wants to get Carson Kuhlman into the lineup, isn't that such a nice, fresh, new approach? Like we never saw that with Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice wouldn't tip his hand. Rick Bowness is saying 3 or 4 days before a game, Dave, and I like that. You mentioned, if you have a guy like Carson Kuhlman and you have a bunch of players that are going through something like a flu or a virus. I mean, why not get those fresh legs in there? Yeah. Obviously, hopefully Carson Kuhlman himself is healthy, but I like the fact that, Kuhlman's going in. So I would expect it to be for Sam Gagner, but maybe Janssen Fjällby gets in there as well. We'll have to wait and see. But my best guess would probably be, Gagner or Esimont. I mean, it's going to be one of those two, right?
By the way, Drew,
yeah,
big anniversary, the 1-year anniversary of Paul Maurice leaving. So December 17th, 2021, yeah. Paul Maurice, the big 1-year anniversary of the former Jets bench boss, handing in his resignation. So it's a big milestone to think about where this team might be 1 year later. Things aren't looking so rosy in Florida, but things are definitely on the upswing here in Winnipeg. So I thought that was worth mentioning, especially given what Ezzy's comment was.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It just sort of snuck up on me. I mean, I that it has been, I think because he was just here so recently ago, otherwise it would have been talked about a little bit more. It's almost like we did it a couple weeks ahead of time when the Jets and the Panthers met.
Are we going to be doing that every year at this time? A year from now, are we going to be it's the 2nd year anniversary of Paul Maurice? I don't think that's going to happen.
The only anniversaries we tend to note of, Ezzy, is when the anniversary of
wedding anniversaries.
Dustin Byfuglien smoking Mark Stone with that big hit. I think that was, when was that? It was either November or January. I can't remember, but
it was still incredible.
And then who came in to fight him? I think it was Zach Smith.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. That was one of the biggest hits of all. That was Scott Stevens on Eric Lindros-esque. And Mark Stone is a big boy. What is he? 6'2", 6'3", 200 plus pounds.
Yeah,
that hit was, one of the best hits of all time.
Well, because there was no head contact. I mean, and I know the Stevens Lindros hit at the time was legal, but in hindsight, you look back at it and you're like, how was this a legal hit? How was this allowed? What he used to do, and it was a different era, of course, and a different time frame. But the Byfuglien hit, because I remember I was in the arena that night as a fan, and it was just like the hit just sort of took
Mark Stone died and then came back to life.
It just sort of resonated. It took a minute for it to resonate in the arena what that hit just was and the impact of that hit. And then it's one of those where you're like, okay, first of all, it's good that Stone is moving. We're not sure how he's moving, but it's good that he's moving. And then you watch the replay and it's just you hear cringeworthy, and usually cringeworthy is when it's awkward or it's uncomfortable. This was cringeworthy in just the impact of two men coming together with that kind of violent impact, but it was a textbook legal hit. That's the kind of hit that they should be showing in learn to hit classes. The only problem is nobody else can replicate it because Byfuglien was such a unicorn that nobody else could dare to even attempt that kind of play and execute that kind of hit with the impact that it had.
Brendan Dillon, I would say, is probably the closest on the Jets to doing that, or an Adam Lowry. But you're right, Buff will never be duplicated ever.
No.
Exactly right. He will never be duplicated ever is really what it boils down to. And it was just an absolutely remarkable play. What we saw, however many years ago that was now, because it was a long time ago. But you're right, Dave, the 1 year anniversary. I was going to ask you, and we have Kevin Woodley coming on to talk about the Canucks in a couple minutes. He's hopefully going to join us. And then I'm actually going to depart the show a little bit early today. So if I abruptly
we've heard enough of your inane ramblings, Drew.
That's right. If I abruptly disappear, you can all celebrate, but I'll be back for the post-game show later tonight at around around 11:45, just before midnight. And if you think that we were a little bit punchy this morning, imagine what we're going to be like later as the clock rolls over to midnight and 1 a.m. and everything else. But I was going to ask you guys, oh, never mind. I'm going to hold that thought probably till later. We're thrilled to be joined now from In Goal Magazine. He covers the Vancouver Canucks for NHL.com. Our good friend Kevin Woodley joins us on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Kevin, good morning. And I have to say, you have one of the best background setups that I've seen in a long time of the guests who join us here on this fine program.
Yeah, you gotta, when you're in the union, you gotta rep the union, right? So this is also as much as I'd like to pretend it's all about the backdrop, this is the reality of my wife being like, you know, that cool hockey stuff, it stays in your office, nowhere else. So despite having our first house with a basement, evidently that's all about the kids and not me. So there is no.
How was the Christmas party, by the way, last night?
It was a family thing, so it was a little low key. But
family party, okay.
That doesn't mean a few pops weren't had. So the boys a little rough this morning, but I'm hanging in.
You mentioned kids in the basement. After I put my kids to bed last night, Kevin, I had to clean the basement ahead of a holiday party at my house tonight. It took me 2 hours to clean the basement, and it's just going to get absolutely destroyed today again. I'm thinking to myself, this is what life has become. But that's life with children in a nutshell, a little bit. But in any event, it's what we enjoy doing. Despite the cleaning and then the cleaning afterwards.
My kids are a little older, so the cleaning just changes, boys. So now it's empties and things like that. So just got to keep a different kind of eye on them.
Pizza boxes, soda cans, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, at least hopefully they share. At least if you have to clean up after them, hopefully they share with you, or they just drink yours instead, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Much.
Kevin, obviously we brought you on to talk about the Vancouver Canucks ahead of the Jets' first visit to Vancouver. Later on tonight. And I look at this Canucks team, and just sort of middling is the word that comes to my mind, in that they're not bad enough to be bottoming out. They're not good enough to be considered a sort of a threat in the Western Conference. I know that there's all sorts of noise around them, with regard to just sort of what direction they're going in. Is that really all the sort of the fan base wants, and what the team is lacking is a clear direction for how this team is moving forward in the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. We certainly, it's tough to tell. I guess I think this is the challenge. I believe that's what the fan base wants. It's what the fan base I hear from. And I don't judge it, because this is the juxtaposition, right? Like the vocal fan base, the ones that are going to call into the local radio talk shows. I think most of them do want that. The question has always been in this market, and I don't know if it's correct. It seems the assumption from the team has always been, great, but will they support those rebuilding years in terms of buying tickets? And what's interesting to me this year especially, and you guys may see it tonight, is they're not buying them anyways. And this is maybe, I don't want to say the first time in a long time, but this is maybe the most obvious it's been. From the marketing campaigns that I get in my emails on a weekly basis, Black Friday sales, not just on tickets, but on suites. When Montreal was here a few weeks ago, the lower bowl was mostly Habs fans. A lot of Habs jerseys. And after the Canucks fell down 4-0 in the first period, it was all Habs fans, because all the Canucks fans went home. Missed a pretty good 7-6 comeback, but it's, that seems to have always been the pushback. And I think it comes from ownership is, well, if we do this, then, what's going to happen to the ticket sales? And right now, I think, it'll be interesting to see what the crowd's like tonight. We've had a few Saturday nights here where it's not even close to sold out. It's pretty obvious by the number of empty seats. And if they are sold, then that's not a good sign either, because people either aren't bothering to come for tickets they paid for, or they just can't give them away. And anecdotally, I guess, you know what I go to? I go to my beer league locker room. Like, that's where I go. Because those are guys that, I have guys on my team. I'm old, as you can tell, like meth head Santa here with the missing tooth and the white beard. But I've got guys in my locker room that, like, from blue collar to, CFOs and season ticket holders, and guys that, are true hockey fans. And when I hear from them, they want direction, and they would prefer, not necessarily like they don't strip to the studs rebuild, but they would just want to see a direction, like some type of clear plan. And I think when this new management group came in, I think a lot of people expected that. And then they went on that magical run under Bruce that's in typical Canucks fashion. All it did was push them out of a good draft pick. And they doubled down on it, right? So, like, I think the frustration from the fan base right now is, especially as things have got off to a slow start, was it feels like more of the same. It feels like more of the same of what they had under the last regime. Even the report Pierre LeBrun had this week about what they're looking for in a Bo Horvat trade, not pure futures, but younger, capable players. Like we heard for years from Jim Benning about how it was all about filling that age gap of low 20s guys to match up with the Petterssons and the Hughes and the Demkos, as opposed to tear it down. Let's get assets, like draft picks and cap space. And, most of those players are now gone. They didn't contribute much when they were here in terms of, being a part of taking next steps. And that core has gotten older, and we're still kind of hearing the same thing. I think that report really had a lot of people, I don't know, upset, but really questioning like where this direction is. Because in the past, like not only did the Benning era sort of start pushing in for the 22 to 24 year olds rather than draft picks and younger, but they actually gave up assets to get them. At least this group's talking about making trades for them as opposed to getting rid of more draft picks for it. But we saw they had to give up a second round pick. They had to give up a second round pick to get out from under Jason Dickinson's contract, right? Like, so it's there is a lot of frustration around here, and I think you're right. A lack of direction seems to be a big part of it, and an unwillingness. I don't know that you have to go capital R rebuild. Some people believe so, but an unwillingness to even embrace that possibility. And again, doubling down on JT Miller, right? Coming off a career season, excellent power play player, tons of skill, but defensive DNA, they doubled down and gave him all that money because they were going to have this 1-2-3 punch at center. And it took us, a month of the season to realize, he's best suited on the wing. And now might cost you, people call him a 1C, 2C. I think Pettersson's the best center on this team, but might cost you a Bo Horvat because you double down on a guy to be center who's now a wing. And all the numbers and underlying says he's better on the wing. So decisions like that don't exactly boost the confidence of a fan base that has seen too many of them go the wrong way over the past decade plus, I guess.
Look, Kevin, there's so many guys you mentioned, Bo Horvat, Brock Besser. I think, a lot of people are expecting, some moves coming out of the Canucks organization in the next 2 or 3 months leading up to the trade deadline. But you're our goalie guru, so we have to talk about goaltending, and we will ask you about Connor Hellebuyck, but we got to talk about Spencer Martin, right? Because that, he hasn't taken the traditional, drafted in the first round, play a couple of years in the AHL. He spent some time in the AHL, even went down to the ECHL for a bit, had 35 saves, played really well against Calgary. I mean, and he's had some bad games, as you know, right? Like the game against the Sharks, he wasn't very good. But I just wanted to ask you about the Canucks goaltending situation in general. I mean, we can start with Spencer Martin, who I believe will get the start tonight against the Jets, unless it will be him, because Colin Delia is the backup for the Canucks right now. Also a good story because, as you know, he's put up really good numbers in the American Hockey League for years. But I wanted to ask you about Thatcher Demko, because you mentioned Demko earlier. He was really struggling. What were you seeing from Demko? Was it a product of kind of the way the Canucks were playing in front of him? I mean, because obviously, I think you'd agree. I mean, Demko still has a very bright future, and I think he's still going to be, the number one goaltender for Vancouver for a while. But you just look, all you have to do is look at his numbers, and they weren't very good. So why, in your opinion, why was he struggling so much before he got injured? Okay,
so first off, I think the first caveat here is they're a tire fire defensively. Like maybe tire fire is kind. Dumpster fire, like that meme where it's floating down the river, the on fire dumpster. Like I just pulled it up as you were talking. ClearSight Analytics. I'm blessed, thanks to Stephen Valiquette, to have a look under the hood of what I think is the best private model in terms of measuring shot quality. And look, the Canucks defensively, expected goals against 5-on-5, 30th. Expected goals against 5-on-5 against the rush, 30th. Expected goals against 5-on-5 in their own D zone, 29. Worst historically bad penalty kill. And some of that's on the goaltending. The metrics are actually a little kinder to the underlying on the penalty kill. But this is a team that was bad defensively and required Vezina caliber goaltending last year to have a chance. And that's what Demko gave them after Bruce came over. Like, his adjusted numbers were top 3 in the league from Bruce to the end of the season until the injury that required a procedure in the offseason, right? So that's a part of this. He had a surgery, lower body. I know what it is, but they haven't disclosed it, and he hasn't wanted it publicly disclosed. So have to honor that because it's medical. I think that affected him. And he's hurt again. I think part of him being hurt again is favoring that side a little bit in some of his movements. So, but at the end of it, he actually started really well. But this environment in front of him and in front of Spencer Martin, it's funny you mentioned the San Jose game. San Jose's expected goals in that game, like he gave up 5, they won 6-5. And everyone's like, it's a tough game. And there were some goals that he'll tell you he wanted to play differently, no question. But San Jose's expected goals in that game was 5. It was 4.97. Like, that's what they're giving up on a nightly basis. They are not good defensively. They were not good defensively last year, and they were in the bottom 3rd in the league. They're now in the bottom 3 of the league. Like, they actually got worse in terms of what they deliver in front of their own end. And there's a lot of unpredictability in there. So we talk about, the types of chances that teams give up, and goaltending never exists in a vacuum. And it's what happens in front of you matters for a goaltender. Big time, these metrics let us sort that. But what no analytics will ever let us do is understand how much of what they give up is what the goaltender expects them to give up. And what I mean by that, like, for example, when Pete DeBoer was in Vegas, they were not a good defensive team, even by the clear sight metrics. They gave up a lot of high danger chances. They leaned heavily, whether it was Lehner or Fleury, they leaned heavily on their goaltenders. But their goaltenders had a lot of success, and part of that was the high danger chances that they gave up were chances that the goalies expected, if that makes sense. In other words, we're going to give this up. We know it's a quality chance, but you can lock in on this chance and not worry about the 2 guys sitting back door because we got that, right? So there was an element as a goaltender of predictability. Yes, I'm going to give that up, but I don't kind of worry about the 3 other things. And I mean, the game's become highly unpredictable for goaltenders because that offense has become so dynamic in the last 5 years. Lateral plays across the slot line, which of course force a goaltender to go from one side to the other, complete like rotation across his body below the hash mark. So what we call low slot line plays, what ClearSight calls low slot line plays. In the last 5 years, they've gone up 41%. That's how teams are creating offense. That's why life is so tough for goaltenders now. That's why goals are up. But in Vancouver's case, there's less predictability this year. It's not just that they're giving up all these chances. It's that you don't know where they're coming from. Like the amount of 2-on-1s, I mean, don't allow the pass through, right? Like whether it's just common sense or the numbers telling us that shooter coming down on a 2-on-1, even if he gets to the hash mark or even if he gets to the dot, that's still a mid, sometimes even low quality chance if he shoots. If I can focus in on him, straight lines, net's getting smaller as he's coming at me. Pass goes across, it becomes like a 40%. Like it's a high danger, right? So, and they just continuously gave up that pass. Like it was high in the zone, low in the zone. Their PKs got seams everywhere. So I'm not trying to make excuses for the goaltending because there were actually, last time I checked, so it was before the injury, Demko's expected save percentage was one of the lowest in the National Hockey League. It was 7th lowest, right? So tough environment. But there were guys who were lower than him that were outperforming that environment. And early in the season, he wasn't. He wasn't able to, like he did last year. Tough environment, but he outperformed that at a Vezina level. This year, he wasn't able to. I'll give you another example. Like I keep saying in Buffalo, as you guys will be familiar, obviously, with Eric Comrie, right? And I think any of you who have met Eric Comrie, you want good things for Eric Comrie, right? Because he's one of the best dudes in the league, right? Like just hands down. Goalie union hat on here, right? I've seen a lot of people when he was injured, and a lot of people talk about Buffalo maybe needing to look at their goaltending. Eric Comrie's expected save percentage when he went out was .859. It was the lowest in the National Hockey League by a huge margin. And he was actually outperforming it by 1.3%, which is top 15 in the NHL, right? So like we have a tendency to look at raw numbers. I think Eric's save percentage is below 900. So everybody's like, oh man, they got an issue in goal. Like, no, they don't. They got an issue in defending because remember, most of his starts were when they were missing Samuelson on the top pair and there was a bunch of injuries on defense, right? Like, so we need to be able to measure those things. And those measurements have not been kind to the Vancouver Canucks defense, much as the Vancouver Canucks defense has not been kind to their goaltenders. That said, there are a lot of things that there was a snowball that started going downhill on Demko. He looked really good at the start of the season, looked really good at August. They were up early against Edmonton, and then like a bunch of no chancers, like double slot line passes, cross ice to McDavid and Draisaitl. Boom, now you've lost that game. Couple tough bounces, one he probably wants back in Philly. Boom, you lose that game. The snowball started to go downhill, and he struggled a little bit to sort of halt that momentum until he was performing under expected, bottom of the league for the first couple of weeks. He'd started to dig himself out of that hole when he got hurt, and now he's out for 6 weeks. So the good news is he got hurt playing better. He'd gotten up to, I think he was minus 1.2% on expected save percentage. And there's guys in the league right now that are minus 3 and 4%, down near the bottom when we look at Jack Campbell and Jonathan Quick and guys like that. He was in that group. He pulled himself well out of it before the injury. Now the question is, can he come back? Because he was, like I said, before the injury, there was a little bit of favoring of one side in some of his movements. So clearly it was bugging him beforehand. Now, can he get back and get healthy and get moving like he was last season? Because when he's right, he's almost never behind a play. His pace is as good as anyone in the National Hockey League. The skill set, the athleticism, and the structure underneath it that he's built with Ian Clark. It's all really fun to watch as a goalie guy in this market. And I hope we get to see him at that level before this season ends. But I'm not expecting it for at least another month, guys. So it's Spencer Martin. And like you said, good story. 20-minute answer for me here, but Spencer Martin. Sorry,
that's why we bring you on. We need it.
I just talk a lot. Spencer arrived here last year, 5th on the depth chart. Started the season in the American Hockey League, wasn't even playing. Like the first 2 months of the season, if you go track his AHL numbers, he barely played. Curtis Sanford, who's now with the Toronto Maple Leafs as their goalie coach, was here in the American Hockey League working under Ian Clark. There's a bunch of things they do differently: post-play, movement patterns, narrow stance off the rush, and Spencer just embraced it all. And in that first month and a half said, this is my opportunity to make these changes. Instinctual, innate, a process Colin Delia is going through right now. I'm not sure he's quite there because he's played more in the early going. It's harder to make changes in your game when you're playing. Spencer just repped it out at practice. And I was at, the schedules weren't as matched up with the Canucks last year. So I was out there in Abbotsford. I was watching the extra hours he was putting in. I mean hours, trying to make these movements a part of his game. And, it paid off. He got the opportunity due to COVID. And it wasn't just like a guy who went 5 years between starts and, goalies take longer. We always hear that, right? Goalies take longer. Mm. Sometimes it just takes longer for goalies to find either a technique, a coach, or sometimes a coach delivering something they've had before, but in a new manner, in new phrasing, with a new emphasis that just clicks differently. And Spencer had already made a couple of changes along the way in Tampa Bay with Franz Jean. In the off seasons, he works with Andy Chiodo, who also, and with Jordan Binnington, like the guy that helped them sort of, rebuild Jordan's game as well and get him to Stanley Cup champion. So he'd been taking stabs. And then there were some tactical and technical things that he added here that just kind of clicked. And so when he got the opportunity, it wasn't, 5 years later, he's got more experience or more time. No, 5 years later, he's a different goalie. It's the reason Colin Delia signed here. He watched Spencer Martin play and was like, that's not the same guy I watched in the American Hockey League or played against in the American Hockey League. Like, this has changed. I want in on some of these changes because I can see the difference it's made in his game, and that's why he signed here. So credit to Sanford for sticking with him at a time when 5th on the depth chart, next stop could have been the ECHL and maybe Europe. Might have been done, right? Like, he's got talent. He's a 3rd-round pick. But credit to Sanford for putting the work in, and credit for Curtis to sticking with it. And here we are. Like, his numbers aren't great, in part because they're a terrible defensive team. He's right around expected. What he's doing right now without a safety net, it's funny, I talked to Corey Schneider the other day about his time with Luongo here, and it was real easy when he was playing and Lou was on the bench and there was all that controversy, but he had Lou there. He had safety net. Mm-hmm. When Lou was injured early in his career and it was just him, the pressure and how everything changed, he said, was remarkable. And that's what Spencer's going through right now. He's playing without a safety net. And there's been a couple stumbles. But I liked his game in Calgary. I've had other goalies around the league that watched him, retired. Devin Dubnyk talked to him the other day. He was watching during the Minnesota game and really likes his game. So he's he's full value. He's worked really hard to get to here. He's an NHL goalie. This may not continue to go well for the next 4 weeks, but it isn't going to be all on Spencer Martin. I think he'll probably pull out of it. To what level, I'm not sure. Like I said, the last couple of games have been really good. So I would say pull out of it. I actually don't think it was ever that bad. But he's getting his feet under him here. He's getting comfortable. And yet it might not matter because they're just a horse crap defensive team.
You know, Kevin, and it's funny because you say Binnington, and that's an interesting one, right? Obviously, because he was behind Husso with, I think it was San Antonio at the time. And then, of course, Husso gets injured and Binnington goes on that magical run in 2019. So sometimes it's just that opportunity. But the guy who hasn't been crap, the guy who's been fantastic and here in Winnipeg, and I know you got to go, but we got to get a little insight into Connor Hellebuyck. What are you seeing? And as you mentioned it, you're the goalie guru. So give us your insight on Connor Hellebuyck and what he's, you know, again, it wasn't like last year was a disaster. It just wasn't Hellebuckian. And now he's back to that form. So what are you seeing? And what are those numbers that you're seeing, not the publicly available ones, telling you about Connor Hellebuyck this season?
Well, they tell me two things. One, you know, we talk about environment, and this is a better defensive environment. Sorry, I'm looking down because I'm pushing buttons on numbers and trying to make sure I've got them all in front of me. This is a better defensive environment for him, and probably not surprising with Bones, with Rick Bowness there as a coach, right? We saw it in Dallas. You know, his expected save percentage is 900. That's, you know, like amongst regulars, that's the fourth highest in the National Hockey League. So the environment is better, right? And when Hellebuyck is at his best, he reads the game. And I'm actually like just dying to get him on our In-Goal Pro Reads. We do something in In-Goal Magazine where we actually sit down with NHL goalies and have them, you know, explain what they're seeing, what leads to a save selection, what leads to a depth selection, why do they go in their posts here, like what are they reading about what the opposition is doing. And here's the thing about Pro Reads, because we've been doing them for 3 years. We started with Carey Price, and that was when I knew I had something, because Pricer started picking out things on the ice that I didn't. The level of detail that a National Hockey League goaltender picks out as that puck and 10 guys are flying around in front of him, guys, it's mind-blowing. Like, it's mind-blowing. Like, handedness, how they're holding their hands, what direction they're moving. Does this guy prefer this? Like, it really is like mushroom clouds went off the first time.
Could you do 12,000 pro reads with Connor Hellebuyck? Because I think that's how many shots he's faced, right, Dave? Something like 12,000 shots, most shots in the NHL since I think it's 2015 or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I've been told by people around him and other goalies that have played with him that his ability to read the game is off the charts. And so when we talk about predictable environments, again, like hockey's become so dynamic offensively, there's no truly predictable environment. I remember I threw that at Ryan Miller for a story a month ago. He's like, there's no predictability anymore. But there's relative states of predictability, right? And so, you know, if you throw Helly into an environment where he can trust his reads, even if those reads are, holy crap, this is a great A, but if he can trust it and know that that's the right read, like, you know, I'm not surprised that he's having success. There's a little more defensive structure in front of him. That said, like, this is not all about defense. Like, yeah, it's a good defensive structure. He's outperforming that environment significantly. Like, you know, like top five. Like, should be in the Vezina conversation, especially when you consider the workload, right? Like his, you know, once again, I'm nothing like looking down at your computer screen as you're talking. I'm just trying to see where exactly he ranks. Like, you know, he's in the top 10 in adjusted save percentage. Like, he's having that kind of season. You know, I know that, and I don't know the specifics, but, you know, I know you guys have it's not a secret in Winnipeg that he works with Adam Francilia, the strength trainer, and that strength trainer isn't even the right word for him anymore. Like, the biomechanics, physiology specialist, like the way he trains goalies to move like goalies is unlike anyone else. And I think that, you know, sometimes when you get to the top of the mountain, you can, I don't want to say, like, it's not like he got satisfied, but there were maybe some things that he's doubled down on in terms of changes and some of the training things. I don't know what the specifics are. They don't always share the secret sauce with me, but I know he really went back to work hard with Afran this offseason. Not like they never stopped working together, but just really sort of doubled down on it. And, you know, Adam's here in Vancouver. They met last night. So, you know, I just think that sometimes you get to that level as a National Hockey League goaltender, and he was, you know, he's one of the best. He's widely recognized as one of the best. But every goalie will tell you the way the game is changing, if you just stay the same, you're falling behind. Like, you have to constantly be looking for progress. And it's a really tough balancing act for goaltenders, because you don't want to chase change for the sake of change, especially if you really believe in your foundation. Well, you've got to constantly be willing to look at new things you can add and at least consider, because the game around you is changing so fast. And I'll give you the one example is Matt Murray. It drives me nuts when people in Toronto talk about Matt Murray rediscovering his Pittsburgh Penguins form. Oh, crap. Matt Murray's Pittsburgh Penguins form doesn't work in the National Hockey League anymore. Matt Murray didn't forget how to play goal. The way he played goal in Pittsburgh when he won his cups no longer works. Like, it doesn't work. He used to play locked in, low and wide, his setup, his stance. And as the play became east-west, the Penguins were the team that did it best. That's why they won the cups. They attacked east-west. They were the first to really go after slot line plays and make sure they were defending them. And so they weren't giving them up. Nobody else was trying to achieve them at the level they were. And Matt was perfectly suited. Now, all of a sudden, everyone else is trying to create those plays. You no longer have the personnel to prevent them. And the way the game's going, it's almost impossible to prevent them. And he's locked in low and wide. He can't go east-west. Like, it wasn't that Matt Murray forgot how to play goal, but the way he played goal didn't work in today's game. And so that's why I'm not surprised he started the process before he even went to Ottawa of changing it. You know who he started it with? Adam Francilia. He changed the mechanics of how he stands and how he sets up to allow him to push better. Now, he's still a guy that's going to get a little wide. He's still a guy that's going to slide rather than beat plays on his skates. But he's so much better equipped for the East-West game now than he was when he won those cups. And you're starting to see those results in Toronto, right? So, and I guess it's a long-winded way to say you can win a Vezina Trophy and be the best in the league. And if you don't keep trying to push forward, you're going to fall behind because everyone else is making those changes constantly. And this, again, don't take that as me saying, oh, Connor Hellebuyck rested on his laurels. That's not it at all, because that guy works as hard as anyone. But maybe there were a couple of things that he might have been, less eager to change. And they've really, I just know they've really gone to work. Like I said, I wish I had specifics. I don't share all the secret sauce with me as hard as I try. But, I know they've really put a lot of work in. And listen, at the end of the day, Connor Hellebuyck's a hell of a goaltender, like one of the best in the world, right? And so you combine a defensive environment that had, I talked about the Canucks last year, and that like Winnipeg's environment had eroded defensively. It's, more predictable now. You add in those changes, and you add in the fact that he's just one of the best in the game, and you've got a pretty nice mix there right now.
Okay, Kevin, hold on. Before we let you go,
That's okay. I drive fast, so I can get to the rink in plenty of time.
Okay, no. I think, is that Henrik Lundqvist? Sorry, I needed to ask you who the jersey in the middle was, because you've got Carey Price on the left, and then Bobby Lou, the Olympic jerseys. I believe those are from the Olympics on the left and right. But then you got Hank in the middle, right?
Before I move my head and reveal in the middle, just based on what you just said, who do you think it is?
I just saw that it was Lundqvist, but I wasn't sure though because it was 35, right?
Yeah, so it's the three I guess NHL the last three NHL Olympic jerseys. So obviously you had Lundqvist in 06, Lou in 2010, and then Price in 2014. So blessed to have spent time with all of them behind the scenes and just felt it would be a nice little backdrop. So, and the way things are going with NHL is at the Olympics, I won't have to update it anytime soon. Sadly.
You got one Hall of Famer and then you've got two future Hall of Famers. What was throwing me off there was the 35, right? Because everybody knows that Henrik Lundqvist wore number 30. So that's what was throwing me off. But that's international hockey.
In 2006. And I would like to call attention to, where's it? This.
Yeah.
There.
The is that Wall?
That's Dryden, and that was
Dryden, yeah.
And that was painted by my daughter, so that's special to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right.
Very nice. Well, Kevin, we hope you have that chat with Connor Hellebuyck, because I remember the one with Eric Comrie that you did was exceptional listening for Jets fans at the time. So we hope you get Connor Hellebuyck in there to have a chat, so we can feature that on illegalcurve.com. We always appreciate your insight when you join us here on the program. Kevin Woodley from NHL.com and In Goal Magazine. So you can get to the rink hopefully in time, Kevin, and we appreciate all your time and insight this Saturday morning.
Thanks so much, Kevin. It was awesome.
Thanks, guys. I had fun. You let me just ramble. So anybody wants to listen to me ramble about goaltending, it's good in my books.
Okay, Kevin, have a great Saturday, and we're going to head to commercial break. You've been listening to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Saturday morning. It is Dave Minuk. It is Ezra Ginsburg. No Drew Mandel.
Ginsburg and Minuk show.
Yeah, no Drew Mandel. Drew is
drop that dead weight.
Yeah, we got rid of Drew, so it's whatever we want to talk about. As we can just open the floor. We don't have to worry about talking about bizarro things like Drew would do. But hey, let's give a shout out to Kevin Woodley. Always a great guest. This is our first time having Kevin on the show in this format. Generally, we have Kevin in the we had him on the TSN days, and he was always a very insightful guest and always had good things to, say, because he does know goaltenders, and he did have a great chit chat with Eric Comrie. And like I said, if we hope that he does have one with Connor Hellebuck, because he gets these guys to talk and they trust him, right? So they give him a lot of information, and it is a long conversation usually. But like I said, it adds a lot of insight, and you kind of gain a bit of understanding of the mind of a goaltender. So we shall see if Kevin is able to get that chat with Connor Hellebuck. And let's turn our chat as, because we've still got about 10-15 minutes left to go in the show. The Mindell and Manuk and Ginsberg. I got my own last name wrong. I got your last name wrong. Sorry, as I guess I'm getting ready for tonight's post-game show with Drew and
you
I.
Call me whatever you want, Dave.
Yeah, no, I'll just call you Azzy. But
except
anyway,
Mindell.
except for Mindell. And anyway, for some reason, by the way, as an aside, you can't see this, and nobody in the chat can see this. But for whatever reason, Drew left his he's still in the chat, like he's still here. I can still see his screen, so we could technically actually bring Drew into the chat. He just won't be.
Yeah, let's bring Drew back in. There you go.
Hey, there we go. Hey, Drew. Drew,
guys, I'm a little bit worried about Drew. I think Drew's in a dark place.
Drew, I really appreciated your last point. It's been very insightful here. So let's get rid of Mindy and let's go back to the Manuk and Ginsberg show.
Why'd you take him away? I was enjoying that. I was going to ask Drew what he thought of Kevin Woodley's last answer.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of like this way. We're a little more. We got a little more. We guess we could have put Drew in the bottom, but anywho.
By the way, that was a really creepy scene. That room, like dark. Like I don't want to know what happens in that room after Drew turns his computer off.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, so we talked about it, and we won't know for a couple more hours what's going to happen with the Winnipeg Jets and the lineup. Of course, morning skate. I just pulled my my headphones out. I got so excited. But the morning skate gets going at 1:30 p.m. Central Time, so 11:30 in Vancouver. But again, what if you had to guess? What do you see happening here? Do you see Ville Heinola going in, and do you see Kyle?
I do.
I mean, Carson Kuhlman ending up getting in, and if so, who do you think is going to be out? And like I said, you'll be able to find out that information on a little site called illegalcurve.com, which will be updated, even though I will be at the Moose game watching warm-up skate for the Moose game, which will be coincidentally same time as the morning skate in Vancouver. So I'll be doing double duty, watching what the Moose are doing, watching what the Jets are doing.
It's going to be interesting to see who goes in on the back end and to see if there's any moves at forward. We talked about it during the first hour with Scotty Billick, right? Like Kevin Stenlund has been really impressive, right? Like he's not a guy, that I think a lot of people thought would be playing for the Jets, because I don't think he stood out in training camp like Michael Eyssimont, right, Dave? Like we've talked about it the last two Jets training camps. Michael Eyssimont, and he led the Moose in scoring, as you know, Dave, last year.
Yeah.
He's a guy that I think, it was expected to play some games for the Jets if there were injuries, as opposed to Kevin Stenlund. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't see Stenlund coming out of the lineup because, of course, he's been playing in the middle, and then they moved David Gustafsson to the left wing.
Right.
So there always is the chance that you see Gustafsson move back up the middle. But I think, we talked about it earlier, like if Carson Kuhlman's going to go in, or for that matter, if Axel Jonsson-Fjällby is going to go in, because he hasn't played the last two games, right? The Capitals game was the last game that Jonsson-Fjällby played, the Jonsson-Fjällby revenge game, because he was a former Capital. I think you'd expect one of Sam Gagner or Michael Eyssimont to come out of the lineup if either Kuhlman or Jonsson-Fjällby goes into the lineup. I'm more interested to see, I mentioned, I do think it's going to be Ville Heinola, Dave. Like, I don't think, you're calling him up just to be the seventh defenseman or I do think they want to get him into the lineup, even though, as you talked about earlier, he's missed the last 3 or 4 games with the Moose, right? So I would expect it to be Heinola, but obviously I wouldn't be, put it this way, Dave, I wouldn't be surprised if, Rick Bowness goes with a similar lineup in terms of forwards, like if he makes no changes, but we just don't know. That's why game day skate afterwards, I mean, during, obviously we're going to find out, but afterwards it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen, because we don't know, like, is Eyssimont good to go? I mean, is he not good to go? Jansen Harkins and Morgan Barron, they didn't take the game day skate against Nashville. So are one of those guys going to come out? So it's possible that Carson Kuhlman and Axel Jonsson-Fjällby go into the lineup, right? And then, one of, Eyssimont, Harkins, Barron, Gagner might come out, right? So or someone else, right? Because the flu/virus is going around this team. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we see, a couple of moves, like Ville Heinola plays tonight against Vancouver, Dave, and then Capobianco goes in against the Seattle Kraken, right? So a lot of moving parts, But again, I mean, we're talking about depth players here. I mean,
right.
The Jets played against the Predators, the way, Scheifele, Perfetti, and Wheeler were going, and the way, Dubois and Connor were going, whether that was with Sam Gagner or Esimont. I mean, the Jets' top 6 forwards stepped up big time against Vegas as well, but they were good against Nashville. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, obviously, but that would probably be my best guess is Heinola and Carson Kuhlman go in tonight. But I don't have a lot of confidence just because we don't know how many guys are still dealing with those illnesses, right?
Yeah. And look, ultimately, like I've talked about earlier in the program, it's not as if you're taking out a guy who scored 15 to 20 goals and you have to find a replacement. These guys are fairly interchangeable, which is both a pro and a con. But it's not just the Jets who are in action. We have a number of the hockey teams of Winnipeg that are going to be playing tonight. We think that's a question mark because, of course, the Ice and the Wheat Kings were supposed to play last night in Brandon. But because of the weather here in Manitoba, that game got canceled or postponed, I should say. Sorry. The WHL postponed that. And it was supposed to be a home series.
A little bit of snow in front of Westman Place.
That's right. Well, the Westoba Center
Westoba. Yeah.
Yes, that's all good. But anyways, the point is that it was snowed in, or maybe the roads were snowed. So they didn't play the game last night in Brandon, but they're supposed to, I believe, still play the game tonight in Winnipeg to close out that home and home. So the Ice, I believe, are riding a 3-game win streak, and they've been riding all season long, first place in the East in the WHL. And of course, this afternoon, bring your teddy bears. I don't think I need to do a full Moose Minute. Do I need to do a full Moose Minute? Because
I think you know the answer to that. I was going to say I expect to hear a moose right away.
Well, hold on 1 second. Let's go.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minute Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Dave, we didn't pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for those graphics and for Dan Fink to do the voiceover to not use it. You got to use that every single Saturday.
I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. And, anytime I can break into a Minute Moose Minute, I'm happy to do so. And the Moose are taking, I'm stumbling today, but the Moose are taking on the Belleville Senators, of course, the farm club of the Ottawa Senators.
They're not very good.
They're not a very good team. And so, I had a question about the Moose and why they're winning one, losing one. And that's just a function of the way this team is right now. A lot of the guys are up with the Winnipeg Jets. And so they've lost some guys. They've obviously had to deal with some injuries. Chaz Lucius, the 2021 first rounder, he was listed out for weeks. Team just got back alternate cap Cole Meyer, although he did get a pretty big hit in the third period of that game against Calgary. Well, Calgary's a pretty aggressive team. Let's put it that way. It was a pretty physical game. So we'll have to see this afternoon to see. Obviously, there isn't a morning skate with the game at 2:00. So we don't know what's going to happen with alternate captain Cole Meyer. And Brad Lambert, of course, the 2022 first rounder. He didn't play the last game. I know that he's made the Finnish World Junior team. So he's likely heading on down to the East Coast of Canada. So he also won't be playing. So you've got some absences with the Moose. And like I said, the goaltending's been decent. Oskari Salminen and Arvid Holm. Holm actually had a really good game in the win in Calgary. So you've got but again, like I said, it's a work in progress. And when you lose, Dominic Tonnato, he's got back-to-back he's got goals in back-to-back games. And Jeff Malott, he was using his fists, not something we're used to seeing with Jeff Malott, but that's what he was doing. And I guess technically it would have been a good time to do a Moose Minute, Ezzy, because it's funny with these games and the fact that they're following on the same day. I forgot that the Moose game was still ongoing when the Jets game was over and we were doing the post game. So we didn't know the actual result, I don't believe. But ultimately, the first goal, Tico Napoli, he's going to be excited. First goal for Tyrell Bauer. We talked about that, of course, on Saturday, but really nice for him to score his first goal in front of friends and family. He's an Alberta kid, so doing it in Calgary and getting his friends and family to see him score the first goal and more confident.
What's
from that
weird
kid.
is though he wears CCM, not Bauer.
Good one by
waiting to make that joke for a few months, Dave.
There we go. Hold it in abeyance, Ezzy, but that's okay. That was a good one. You whipped it out at the right time. But the point is that, unlike Drew's Menorah, the point is that I think one of those situations, I think Bauer is an interesting case study. I think he's similar. Folks will remember, folks will indulge me. If you remember the Leon Gavanke, Johnny Kovacevic, Luke Green trifecta, which they were a rotating.
Luke Green, he was like I think a 2016 draft pick.
He was, yeah. I think he
Yeah,
was
the
yeah,
line
he
a
was.
year,
Yeah,
right?
he was the line a year. So the point is that you had those guys rotating until they kind of separated themselves in injuries and call-ups, kind of helped that along the way. And then ultimately you saw what happened. And Luke Green, of course, had some issues and ended up going over to Europe. The point I'm making, though, is that with Tyrell Bauer is that he wasn't getting a regular rotation, but with all these guys getting called up and injuries and that sort of thing, or illnesses, he's getting more of a regular run with the Manitoba Moose. And I think it's only going to be stronger. Of course, Tico Napoli's already anointing him the top right-handed D prospect. That's a little bit aggressive, Tico Napoli. He's a 2020 first sixth rounder. And again, I'm not saying your draft position means anything, just stating the facts. The guy who would be the top prospect, I would say, is probably 2019 second rounder Simon Lundmark. He's very Dylan DeMello-esque, a very quiet sort of defenseman. And of course, 2017 fifth rounder Leon Gavanke, who's bounced back, and he and Declan
Elias
Chisholm are
Salomonsson as well, Dave.
Oh, well, I'm saying with the Moose for sure. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in the Jet system, because you mentioned he is playing for Sweden at the World Juniors, is he not?
No, he's injured.
Oh, he's injured. He would have been, I think,
yeah.
right?
Yes, you're right.
But he's a second rounder from this past year, so just wanted to get that in there. That Salomonsson, Simon Lundmark. I mean, Leon Gavanke. I think all due respect to him, I don't. Right now, I don't necessarily know that. Aside from being a call up when the Jets have injuries, I don't know if how high the ceiling is for him. I'm not saying that he can't play in the NHL. I'm just saying I think the ceiling is higher for Salomonsson and Lundmark. I think you'd agree with that, Dave.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think that, he's kind of got that Brendan Kitchen. Again, I'm going back to my Manitoba Moose oldies, but goodies.
You're going back to the St. John's Ice Caps there.
Yeah, but Brendan Kitchen was one of the best defensemen. Finally earned himself a recall. You thought he was going to get into a meaningless game for the Jets. I think it was a mistake, actually, by the organization. Paul Maurice, early years, I thought that was a mistake, actually. Should have given the kid a reward and let him play an NHL game. He didn't. It was actually crazy because the Jets flew back, landed at like 4. It was a California road trip. They landed at like 4 a.m, Winnipeg time. And he called Keith McCambridge. So it would have been the first year of the Moose. And was like, I'm playing. And the Moose had an afternoon game. And I don't remember if he got the OT winner that game. He may have. Boy, that's really scraping my, 7-8 years ago, my Moose memory banks. But if it was, I know he got into the game. He may have had the OT winner. And it was like he had just won the Stanley Cup, the team, the way they celebrated him. Anyways, that's a long segue as for us talking about the Moose, but that's fine.
According to TSN, by the way, Brendan Kitchen's going to play on the right side for the Jets tonight.
There you go. So the point is, and hey, Bailey, I see that the comment about guys playing on the right side if they're a left shot and vice versa. But the truth is that sometimes that's what organizations do. And we mentioned it already, Nate Schmidt, when he came up with Washington, he didn't have an opportunity to play on the left side. There was no one he was going to supplant. So they said to him, listen, you're going to learn to play on the right side. And you know what he did? He went and learned to play on the right side. And he was good for a number of years playing on the right, as a left shot on the right side. And I talked, like I said, I talked about it with Ville Heinola. It's guys can do it. It's not, it's an adjustment for sure.
It's not like you're playing a different sport. Regardless if you're a left shot or right shot, you're right, Dave. These guys, depending on, regardless, I should say, of how much they've played at the pro level or the junior level, you're exactly right. I think, it's not the craziest thing. Just like for a centerman to play on the wing is not the craziest thing. These guys want to play games. So
that's right.
They'll go to the right side if they need to.
Well, and look, the truth is, and I talked about this earlier, but not this show, but previously, Sandberg and Heinola, and we don't know if that's actually going to end up being the pairing, but they have some familiarity. They started the 2020-21 Moose season, I think 7 straight games, going back to the old memory banks again. The
Iceplex year.
That's right.
When Dave M was the only person, and this is not a joke, he was the only person, the lone media member that covered the Moose that year.
Well, ironically,
there might have been a few other guys. You might have seen Mikey McIntyre in there every once in a while, or you might have seen a few guys in there. I don't know if Jacob Stoller was in there because he was covering the Moose, but shout out to Jacob Stoller.
Once in a blue moon. Ooh. But it's funny that
year, Dave. Sorry, I don't know.
That's okay.
Smoking too many cigarettes, I guess.
Hacking the butts, but
just joking.
Anyhow, the point is that it's been an interesting sort of season for the Manitoba Moose. They've stayed in contention though, despite sort of the situation with the lineup and losing guys, and like I said, whether it's injury or whether it's recall, and it should be an excellent game. And like I said, if you're going to the game, it's the teddy bear toss game, and all those teddy bears will go to a good place, and it's a great cause. So if you can, and if you're going to the game, 2:00 start, be sure to bring a teddy bear that you can toss and like I said, give the kids something. They do it a little different here, of course, in Winnipeg, as that we see in a lot of places. They used to do it that way, where you'd wait for the first goal. And I want to say there was a year where it was like a 0-0 game, so there actually wasn't a first goal. And they're like, all right, well, I guess just toss it on now. So now the Moose, what they do is they do it during the first intermission, and they kind of bring the trucks out and they have everybody ready to go, and then everybody tosses it on. And it's a lot of fun, and the kids, like I said, the kids get a chance to enjoy it, and that's why we love these Moose games. Because
I don't know why people don't like the teddy bear toss. Like sometimes people say they don't like it. Like I love it. The Ice do it. I'm pretty sure like almost the Wheat Kings. I don't know if they do it. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. A lot of junior teams do it, right? So it's always fun. I mean, it's a good cause as well, right? You're muted, Dave.
Oh, I unmuted myself and then I got muted again. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure you're right, as I think all the teams do it. And so, yeah, and look, it's a good cause, and you're raising awareness and that sort of thing. And that's one of the things the Moose do. They really are out in the community, and they do a lot of good things for the local community, and they get engaged in that regard. So
the best thing one of the best things I should do. We have a partnership. I work for Hockey Manitoba. That's my full-time job. We have a partnership with the Moose. And so we promote some of their minor hockey programs. One of the things I love, as you know, Dave, is the community practice series. And you've seen some guys from the Winnipeg Ice and the Wheaties. You know, they've been going around to minor hockey teams around Manitoba, but love that community practice series where a team, several teams actually get to practice with the Moose. And then they have the backyard rink contest. I'm not sure if they're doing that this year, but they've done that in years past. So you're right. The Moose do an excellent job. True North does, I should say, in the community.
Well, I'm not gonna be a spoiler alert here, Ezzy, but they are bringing back the backyard rink. So that will be back in most likely to be a -40 day, where I go to some guy's yard or in somewhere. I think it was West St. Paul the last time that we did one. There's one in East K, North K. So good times. It's always fun to see people in the community getting a chance to interact. And like I said, that to me is one of the biggest changes we've seen this year versus last, which is or in the last couple, I should say, is the fact that folks get a chance to get up close and personal with their heroes, whatever it is. So let's bring Drew back to close out the show, because I really wish it'd be amazing, Ezzy. I wish what I could do. Actually, let's put Drew up in the top corner. I'll go here. Let's go back to our normal. Oh, no, you're not. You shouldn't be there. Let's go like that. There we go. All right. Drew's never looked so good. But no, it'd be great if I could somehow like superimpose like Drew's face into the into his thing, like a little stick figure Mindell. That'd be fantastic. I can't do that. I agree. Frosty Winnipeg's.
Drew, what do you think about the Moose game this afternoon?
Yeah, Drew, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah,
Drew, I love these answers. Keep it rolling. Let's get rid of Drew. Let's bring on the sponsors. I agree with Frosty Winnipeg. It's time to thank our sponsors, and I like how he said, Dave, it's time to remember. So I'm going to give a big shout out to all of the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Bernstein's Deli, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and Seagram's, who we have some exciting news about them coming up. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Well,
are we going to be filling up a hot tub with Fireball? Isn't that what we're going to be doing pretty soon?
We could be doing something of that nature very soon. So there's some exciting news coming with our friends at Seagram's, and we'll have more about that probably this week. And remember, and it's already, we're a little bit late in the show, but I've only got the Moose game I've got 3 hours before the Moose game. I got tons of time. I did all my cleaning yesterday when we had no hockey on. So just quickly,
can you make some latkes? We could do that.
Yeah, we could. Although I'm going to admit something.
Do you have any russet potatoes around?
For the record, I'm not a potato latke kind of guy. I'm more of a matzo meal latke. That's what we used to eat as
those are good.
Growing up.
It's all
so
good.
Those are my staple. I'm not really a potato latke kind of guy, but I do eat them from time to time.
Yeah, I've got some Irish blood. That's why I like the potatoes, like mashed potatoes.
Well, mashed potatoes I'm in, but
whiskey, French fries,
anyway,
hash browns. I'm a potato enthusiast.
Before we go, a couple of things. First of all, thank you for spending your Saturday with Drew, Ezzy, and I. We always appreciate you spending the time listening to us sometimes talk about inanities like latkes, but the Jets talk, the Moose talk.
By the way, Spencer's really into the Fireball tub.
All right. Well, look, we can talk to our friends at Seagram's. That's not an issue. Oh, Ticona Paulie wants me to do an extended Moose Minute. Well, I think the Moose talk is done, but Ticona, don't worry. There's going to be a long Moose Minute tonight when Drew, it's 1 a.m. and I'm still talking about whatever happened in the Moose game this afternoon. Although I appreciate the different times so I can actually at least focus on one and focus on the other. Anywho, what I was going to say is, though, it's just don't forget, guys, we have the contest that you can enter in to win Jets gear, whether it's hat, whether it's jersey, whether it's t-shirts. So all you have to do is go to our gleam.io. I always have it in the notes in the pregame report, which is already up on illegalcurve.com, or in the description here on the YouTube channel. And you just go and you can enter different ways. And now we have a new grand prize, which is a pair of tickets to any NHL game that you want to go to. So if you win in December as our grand prize, then you get to pick an NHL game of your choice in January, and then January for February, February for March, March for April. And who knows, right now that's regular season. We may have some exciting playoff stuff as well. So make sure you're getting in your entry.
The whiteout is going to be coming back.
Most likely.
It's actually a whiteout outside. I'm looking outside right now. It's a whiteout.
That's right.
So.
Well, we might need actually your help from the chat to push Ezzy's car. A couple more things. Smash that like button. Give us a like.
My car's definitely stuck. I can see it. Like I'm in Dave's living, I guess, dining room here, and I can see it, and it's definitely stuck.
Although little known fact, I've only had Ezzy over for dinner. Ezzy was the first guest at Minuk Manor for in that dining room, but other than that, it doesn't get used.
I believe we had wasabi sushi.
We did. I took it to the next level for Big Daddy. I said, Ez needs something nice. So that's how we christened the house. Anywho, so the point is that, although it's funny, actually, someone asked me if you actually lived in my house. I don't remember who. Someone said, I think it was one of the
wish I lived in your house. Are you kidding me? Is that on the table, by the way? Can I just go home and parent for a little bit, but I'll spend most of my time here?
Maybe. But anyways, just a big thanks for everyone for joining us. And the other thing, if I could request, you can go on the podcast, iTunes, and leave a comment. We always appreciate that. That's always helpful for us, helpful for that little thing called the algorithm. As not that the only person who understands that is your dad, retired math professor. Anyways,
I really think though that we should give Drew the last word, Dave. That's what I think we should do.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's go. And Drew, any final thoughts before we go? No, he's got nothing to say, which is very rare for Mr. Mandel. So we're going to say goodbye to Drew. We're going to say goodbye to all of you for now. But of course, we'll be back here in, 12 hours, 13 hours on the Illegal Curve postgame show. So thank you very much for joining us, Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg. I am your temporary host, Dave Minuk. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, everyone, and we will talk to you very, very soon.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.